Hello everybody and welcome along to Canada. This is our annual trip north of the border for the IMSA WeatherTech SportsCar Championship, and we're just about an hour and 15 minutes depending on traffic, up the 401 east and slightly north from Toronto to Bowmanville and to Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. 2.4 miles and 10 corners that have been challenging the best in the world on 2 and 4 wheels since the early 1960s. Action areas to come at Turn 5, Moss Corner, big braking area there. There has been a bit of resurfacing going on there and resealing overnight into the extremely fast Turn 8, 9 and 10 at the end of the lap as well. Expect to see some action there, but also diving down the inside into the first corner, the downhill right-hander. It's a real challenge for all of the teams, and they are happy to be here. And Jeremy Shaw alongside me in our Porsche Keys to the Race in Michelin Countdown to Green a few minutes ago. We were talking about this being a sprint race and how people will have to start quickly, but an element of patience has to remain, particularly in the early part of the race. The old adage is you can't win the race at the first corner, but you can certainly lose it.
Yeah, and to finish first you have to finish. I mean, those two adages are oh so true. And here, traffic is going to be a big factor here because the GTD cars, they're committed to their lines around the corners. These the prototypes, the downforce is such that the cars are so planted, they have a bit more leeway as to where they can run in the corner, so they can kind of alter their line to cope with where the GTD cars are. But it's very easy to be held up around here on different parts of the track, and that's where the patience factor comes in. If you push the envelope, there's going to be an incident.
Fuel is going to be an issue, or at least not an issue, but certainly a concern for some of the categories, particularly at the front of the field, Jeremy.
Yeah, I think certainly most of the teams, I think, are going to be struggling to do much more than 30 minutes. I don't think they're even going to be able to reach 35 on a full green flat-out fuel stint. So I think there's going to be some saving involved. I think the pace in the early stages of the race is probably going to be fairly conservative.
And tyres will be an issue for others, particularly in GT Le Mans. Their fuel is not so much the determining factor, but how they look after their Michelin tyres, particularly early in the stint.
I think so. I think from what I can gather, that if you push too hard too soon, that's going to come back and bite you later in the stint. So once again, they're going to have to be a little bit of conservative driving, I think, in the early stages, and then the latter part of the race, that's when the gloves are going to come off.
Let's head to Shea Adam. First of all, Shea, is it a clear pit lane?
It is. Everybody made it out on track. The last car to roll out was that number 44 Magnus Racing Lamborghini. All of the cars are currently on their way around the circuit. And we should remind people that we are down one race car from when we started this weekend. The 48 Paul Miller Racing car sustained damage in one of the practices on Friday, will not be taking part in the race today.
Yeah, that's a shame for those guys. They've not had a good run of it in their defence of the championship. So, what do we expect to see at the start of the race? Acura, Mazda at the front 2 rows. The best of the Cadillacs is the number 31 Wheel and Engineering car. What do you do early on, Jeremy? Because I've got to say that track position here is quite important.
Well, I think it is. So I'm sure that Jonathan Bomarito from the outside of the front row, he's going to want to try and take the lead if he possibly can, but Elio Castroneves certainly isn't going to give anything away. We saw a tremendous battle in the closing stages 1 week ago between the Acuras and the Mazdas. Clearly the Mazdas there had the edge on speed, no question about that, but they had to find a way first of all past Juan Pablo Montoya, who was in the lead and very keen on keeping it. He wasn't able to on that occasion, but it took a really bold pass from Harry Tinknell to prize Juan Pablo Montoya out of the lead of that race. Here, though, the cars between Acura and Mazda seem to be a lot more closely matched. We never suspected going into the race 1 week ago that the Mazdas were going to be so far ahead on race pace. I don't think we're going to see the same thing here, but again, I was surprised 1 week ago. But I do think that the Cadillacs are going to be closer on race pace here than they were at Watkins Glen. So I do believe we're in for a pretty exciting race this afternoon, and it's great that we've got such a good crowd on hand to witness it. Well,
you and I went out to Turn 2 earlier on, just before the Porsche race, and the crowds then were big. They are huge now. Shea Adam looking across down towards turn 1 on the front straight. And a huge, I can't remember seeing any more people here, I'll say that.
I don't think there could be many more people here, John. This is fantastic. Thank you guys for coming out to the racetrack. I know the drivers are going to put on a show, and let's make Canada proud.
The Mobil 1 SportsCar Grand Prix presented by Acura. Back-to-back races, and then just a week before we're at Lime Rock Park. This is the meat of the season now, and this is where championships, Jeremy Shaw, can be won and lost.
Yeah, very much so, and let's hope there's no repeat of the opening lap incident of a week ago at Watkins Glen, where one of the Corvettes and the number 33 AMG Mercedes and GTD were taken out of the race, and various other cars were compromised as well. So again, that patience factor I think has to come into play here. You know, these first few corners around the lap, well, the whole lap here, it's super fast and it demands total commitment, but you've got to temper that commitment sometimes.
Final thoughts from you, Jeremy, from particularly the GT Le Mans class. BMW's very, very competitive here.
Yeah, very interesting. I mean, they pulled out all the stops in qualifying. They concentrated on qualifying, and they had kind of two different strategies on their cars for qualifying. One was only going to ever do that one lap for Jesse Krohn. The other car was out a little bit longer. That explains the difference between those two.
The green flag is in hand. Now it's in the air, and we're racing at the Mobil 1 SportsCar Grand Prix presented by Acura, and it is an Acura that leads down into the first corner of the first lap as Helio Castroneves gets a picture-perfect start. He's already over the top of the skyline and into turn 2, over the top of the patch. That's running very well indeed. 31 red-white car is that of Philippe Nasr, who's under pressure from the Mazda in behind him. Tristan Nunez trying to go through there. In fact, no, he's got past that. So that's a position from the start. That's a very good start indeed. So we've got Acura Mazda, Acura Cadillac. Really good start by Felipe Nasr.
Brilliant start by Felipe Nasr, and he was all over the second Cadillac of Montoya there. It took Montoya, all of Montoya's skills to keep him behind him at 2 there. Took a kind of defensive line around the outside there, kept the Cadillac behind, but that was a really good start by Felipe Nasr. The Juncos car, they're kind of a 50. They got on the grass car in the first corner. There's a challenge though, side by side through turns 8 and 9.
Extraordinary stuff, and they're almost side by side into the final corner. Well, that tells you everything you need to know about Jonathan Bomarito and the number 55 Mazda. Mazda having taken their first win since 2012 in the American Le Mans Series last weekend, and they're here to tell you and anyone that listens, and in fact anyone that doesn't want to listen, that wasn't a flash in the pan. They are back. We are winners, says John Doonan. It was a Mazda day last Sunday. Will it be a repeat Mazda day today? Clearly, Jeremy Shaw, early on, the intent is very much that will be the case. Yeah,
and I think that Mazda must be pretty fleet on the straights. We'll see what sort of exit he gets here from Moss Corner to get him onto the Mario Andretti straight. Maybe he can challenge again at the top of the hill, but this time around, certainly Castroneves got a good run out of Moss Corner, and he's got a 10 or 12 car lead as they head up the hill. Interesting in GTLM, the second of the BMWs, Tom Blomqvist, who got elbowed back from second on the grid to 5th on that opening lap.
And just a note for Scott Buse and a number of other people, the core car should have started at pole position but decided against it. They changed the driver and put a new set of Michelins on, so that is immediately them sent to the back of the class, and that's where they have started. But John Bennett's already gone by Will Owen and sitting in 10th position. New third place car, and it's a Mazda that has gone through there. The Mazda DPI, Tristan Nunez, has got 4th place car, excuse me. Meantime, in GT Le Mans, Jesse Krohn from pole leads from Ryan Briscoe in the Ford, then the 2 Porsches in 3rd and 4th. It's still the BMW of Robbie Foley that leads in GT Daytona ahead of Trent Hinman in the Acura NSX and the Porsche of Zachary Robichon. Watch that number 9 Porsche in the plaid colours, both that and the 73 car, very quick in warm-up this morning. Those Porsches coming to life in the slightly cooler temperatures. Forecast to get up to the mid-20s, just under 80 degrees Fahrenheit here today. It was very pleasantly cool at round about 18, 19 degrees during morning warm-up earlier on today.
First flying lap, fastest lap there for Elio Castroneves. That's a new lap record in the IMSA WeatherTech SportsCar Championship, 107.107. That beats the record last year set by Dane Cameron, 107.2. This year it's Tristan Nunez. On lap 2, it's Tristan Nunez that gets a new lap record, fractionally quicker, 107.103 in the Mazda number 77, who breezed past the number 31 Cadillac at the end of lap 2.
Hello to Matt in Australia. He's tweeted at IMSA Radio 3 a.m. where he is in Australia. So he's speaking to us from the future, but settling in for a very early morning race for them, and it looks already to be a cracker. 2 hours and 40 started on the clock. We're 5 minutes near enough into it at the moment as the leaders have streamed through the first part of the lap, and now the GT Le Mans cars down at the bottom of turn 2. Castroneves just pulled out enough to break the toll between himself and Jonathan Bomarito heading into turn 8. 180 miles an hour plus coming over the top of that rise as you take a deep breath and set yourself up for the fast right-hander, insanely quick right-hander at turn number 8. Live from trackside, IMSA Radio and IMSA TV together. Now settling in for maybe a long run. Let's see what the tactics are for these DPI cars. Round about half an hour, maybe as much as 35 minutes, but not much more than that for these cars on a full tank of fuel here. This track over 134 mile an hour average during qualifying. Absolutely extraordinary pace being shown, and the leaders already looking at the back of the field and having to think about some lap traffic. Now, fortunately for Castroneves, it's on the Mario Andretti straight, but the leading pair are pulling away. Acura number 7, Mazda number 55, that's first and second. Acura number 7, Montoya from Tristan Nunez in Mazda number 77. Just not close enough. The Mazda does pull up a little bit, but it needs the help, Jeremy, I think, of being right under the rear aerofoil of that Acura ARX in front of it when it comes out of the Moss complex. It's just not quite got enough pace to pull along and do it without the assistance of the draft.
No, but it certainly is a little bit quicker on the straight there than the Acura, and we'll see whether that's going to be a factor within the next few minutes, maybe as the tyres degrade a little bit, or will they? We shall see. 1 minute 7.4 last time for Elio Castroneves, and he's got the number 55 car, Jonathan Bomarito, right on his tail, and then behind him it's a mirror image for third and fourth with Montoya and Nunez.
Great battling further down the field as well, as Will Owen and John Bennett are going at it. Owen down the inside at turn 5. Moss Corner sort of got half, 3/4 of the way alongside, but backed out of it. They're back at that part of the track right now. That was a lap or so ago. You can't afford to be half-hearted in your passing here, Jeremy. That should have been one of our Porsche keys to the race, shouldn't it? To be honest, if you're going to go for it, be decisive, get alongside, and get alongside as early as possible.
Yeah, I think there must have been a spin there for the number 33 of Ben Keating.
Yeah, he's dropped way down, hasn't he? It's a good call, Jeremy. It's been a fabulous qualifying for the man from Texas. He has dropped away just a little bit. Leaders in traffic now, in behind the 720.
Get used to it.
Yeah, absolutely. And there goes the pass for the lead. Up towards turn 4, almost the opportunity made there by Bomarito in traffic. The WeatherTech Ferrari right in amongst the leaders there as they go through. That was started by Cooper McNeil. He does a pretty good job. And then the second pair, we'll call that a trio now, because Felipe Nasr is right there. Leading pair, 7 and 55, Castroneves and Bomarito cutting through traffic, and the Mazda is as close as I've seen it. Might go to the right-hand side and turn. It does do. Down the inside, doesn't get the overlap, has to drop back in. Now the Lexus is the next car that will go a lap down to the leaders. It's Richard Highstand in that number 12 car. Frankie Montecalvo in the 12 car. They've already gone past Richard, down towards turn 1. And for a moment, Elio Castro-Neves has clear air in front of him, but only for a moment.
1 minute 11.2, 4 seconds that costs them in traffic, and that's why we were talking about patience being so important here. But for the race leader here, particularly for Elio Castro-Neves, he's got to work his way through the traffic and still keep an eye on his mirrors to make sure that when he is held up, and it's not a question of when, it's not a question of if, it's when, then he wants to make sure that Jonathan Bomarito isn't able to steal a march on him and sneak through.
Shea Adam down in the pit lane has been watching what's been going on early on, and Ben Keating has dropped down. Shea, what do you reckon?
Just a little bit of detective work, and Jeremy can perhaps clarify this. Would it make sense that maybe it was contact with the 14 Lexus that would have sent Ben further back through the field? Because the 14 Lexus crew about 2 minutes ago scrambled up and got a new tire ready on the wall in case Richard Heistand needed to.
He would have been round about there, maybe a little bit more likely to have been Frankie Monte Calvo, I would have thought, if it was one of the Lexus, because that was the sort of area that Ben was, but
that's where he ended up.
Yeah, well,
but
that's true.
He had been running in contact with the 14.
New leader across the line. Through goes Jonathan Bomarito. And now the 2 Lexus are behind. So it's Bomarito, Castro-Neves and Montoya. Fantastic move by the 55 car, using the skill and the advantage of the smallest motor in the field. Just a 2-litre turbocharge. But my goodness, it revs, and it does pull. It is the little engine that can. Up to turn 5 now. So with 15 minutes gone, that's how long it's taken for Mazda to get back to the lead. That was the battle 1 week ago, Mazda versus Acura, and it went the way of the 55 car. Oh, and they're coming together at turn 2. That's the Juncos number 50 prototype with Will Owen at the wheel, and I think that was the 74 of Var Robinson in the Lone Star AMG. Var just drifted a little bit out from the inside line. It was the lightest of touches over the top of the hill at turn 2. You do get light there, and the pass for the lead in the middle of turn 5. Coming out of it, there was traffic ahead. It was Trent Hinman that was right there and inadvertently played his part in just making Elio Castro-Neves have to lift, and a brilliant move to the left-hand side on the Mario Andretti straight that just held Castro-Neves in behind Robbie Foley's BMW, and maybe just had to breathe off the throttle for a second or a fraction of a second, and that was all that the Mazda man needed. The RT24P leads in the shape of the number 55 car and has pulled away by a second and a half.
Yeah, because he set a new fastest lap last time around at 107.015 for Jonathan Bomarito in the lead. So look, it looks like we are seeing what we saw last week. All of a sudden on race day, the Mazdas have found a different gear. We thought during practice they were being a little bit cagey and probably concentrating on the race rather than ultimate speed. We thought, though, we would see how fast the Mazdas really were when we got into qualifying yesterday afternoon. Well, they were pretty quick, but third lap time wise was the best they could manage. Of course, started second with Colin Brown and the Core Autosport team deciding to change the starting driver and have John Bennett do the opening stint. But now Jonathan Bomarito is in the lead, and he's looking very, very strong indeed. And the second car, number 77, up into third place as well. Tristan Nunez has found his way past Pablo Montoya. But hanging right in there with those two is Felipe Nasr in the best of the Cadillacs at the moment.
In terms of the strategy then, it was basically get to the front of the field as quick as you could. Took 15 minutes for Jonathan Bomarito, but he's there, and now they can control the race, Jeremy, and that's a huge tactical advantage there to Mazda Team Yost.
Yeah, it is. You know, they can now kind of control the race from here. He's not got anybody breathing down his neck, at least not at the moment, and with a bit of clear track ahead of him, he's going to take full use of that. He's now already stretching out that lead over the second place Acura.
In GT Daytona, still the BMW leading from Acura in second, Porsche third, Lexus fourth. Top 4 cars, different manufacturers. No Audis in the field today. The more-speed car, which we had expected to see here, that car was damaged too badly last week at Watkins Glen. This is for Mike, who's just asked about the Audis. So the more-speed car still being repaired, The Starworks car, well, they've withdrawn that car because they don't feel they're getting the performance out of it that they should be. And as they said in their press release during the week, we're not here to drive around at the back. They played their tactical cards very well at Watkins Glen and led the race for a wee while, but we're always going to be short on fuel towards the end of the race. The Land Motorsport guys weren't due to be here. They were going to be doing some of their other commitments. They were only due for the longer races. They didn't come for Watkins Glen either. There was a scheduling conflict. So no Audis in the field. Land were at Watkins, weren't they? So no Audis in the GTD field today. We hope to see Peter Barron's Starworks car back later on in the season. Oh, and a bashed in the door in the battle for the lead. Trent Hinman going for a gap that was closing very quickly, and they're still side by side touching down the long, fast Mario Andretti straight. And the stewards looking at the touch between the 74 AMG Lone Star car and Youngos, who are due to pit.
But look at what's happening now. The BMW has been the fastest car on the straights in GTD all weekend long. We saw a graphic illustration of there. It pulled out probably 3 car lengths over the Acura, having come out of the corner pretty much side by side.
So into turn 5, they've just been passed by one of the P2 cars, the 38, which was
leading. Slow into the corner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't think there was quite enough room there for Trent, but I admire his chutzpah and his boyish enthusiasm there. A low percentage lunge, I think, if you look in the racing dictionary, you'll see a picture of that.
Might not like that one.
I think the only thing that might save him there, Jeremy, is that he didn't turn the other car around, and he hasn't actually gained any advantage from it, but there'll be a finger wagging there at the very least.
I agree.
And do you know what? I'm all right with that. I'm all right. That's not Trent. That's not the way he drives.
No, I mean, he saw an opportunity there, and there was an opportunity, at least briefly. So he looked for it, and he was kind of alongside, but not fully. That's for sure.
Scottish Adam, the Youngos number 50 Cadillac, has already been in the pit shed.
Yes, they took their time on the stop, John. They gave him 4 new Michelin tires. They did still have the stickers on it, but there is quite a bit of nose damage. The dive plane's folded up on the right-hand side and missing the strut on the left side. They elected not to put a new nose on the car, though, and they sent Will Owen back out.
Let's do a quick Cadillac in-race update before it all changes. Mazda leads in the shape of Jonathan Bomarito with the 55 car by 3.5 seconds over Elio Castro Neves in the 7 Acura. Then new 3rd place for Tristan Nunez. He's got ahead of Juan Montoya, and he's right on the tail of Castro Neves, hoping to make it another 1-2 for Mazda in LMP2. It is the 38 Calmason that leads from the 52 car, but they are already 10 seconds apart after that run through traffic. In GT Le Mans from pole position, Jesse Krohn leads for BMW and Team RLL. From Ford GT number 67, the blue and orange car of Ryan Briscoe. Then the first of the Porsches of the 911, Patrick Pilet. They are 2.5 seconds apart, those 3. In GT Daytona, even tighter. Top 3 cars separated by less than a second. BMW, then the Acura. They've both been very close together recently, so close that they could probably smell what each other had for lunch. It is the 96 BMW that leads with Robbie Foley, then Trent Hinman in 2nd place for the black and pink Acura. And in 3rd place, the number 9, the plaid Porsche of Zachary Robichon. It was a spin on his own for Ben Keating, I think, in the 33 car that threw him further down the standings than he would have liked. That is your Cadillac in-race update with Cadillac V Series, because races don't take days off. Now we are, 20 minutes in or thereabouts, and already movement in the pit lane. Shea Adam.
Somebody just picked up a load of dust when they went off on the exit of turn 10. The 84 JDC Miller Motorsports Cadillac into the pit lane. They jumped upon the wall, fuel and tires only. Steven Simpson not yet ready to get into this car, so it'll be Simon Trimmer for at least one more stint. And those are scrubbed Michelin tires by the looks of it. Pretty standard stop here, but there's a lot more movement up and down the pit lane as second drivers have started to put on their helmets.
Well, if second drivers get in now, the starting drivers will have to get back in, because it's a 45-minute minimum drive time, and we're nowhere near that at the moment, certainly for GTD and LMP2. Of course, that that doesn't apply for the pro classes. It's normally 5 or 10 minutes in these shorter races, and we're already over that, of course. 3.1 seconds the head of the field as Castro Neves has pulled a little bit of time back that last time around. And as I say that, of course, he loses it again on the next lap. A 1:08. No, he did pull a bit of time back, but not much. They're trading tenths of seconds. It's a beautiful day near Bowmanville, Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, looking a picture as it always does, and a huge crowd on hand. A lot of people have come in here this morning. The hillside parking opposite the IMSA broadcast booth, the cars glinting in the afternoon sunlight. Jeremy Shaw, John Hindhaugh in the booth, Shea Adam down along pit lane, and at IMSA Radio if you want to get in touch with us. Hello to Bryn Smith sitting in the garden listening and watching. Great company from the IMSA broadcast team. Thank you, sir. Very kind of you to say that. And Gareth Evans is back in the shed again at 6:30 back in the UK, doing a bit of Mazda modelling in his man cave down there. Good to have your company again, Gareth. And streaming around the world as well, of course, in sound and vision, uninterrupted. If you haven't got a TV network deal in your territory, get over to imsa.tv or www.radio-show.co.uk and you can find our uninterrupted audio and video streams on there. Also, welcome to those of you listening on XM Sirius as we have our broadcast on their airwaves again, and thanks to them for giving up one of their channels for IMSA WeatherTech SportsCar Championship, and that is going to be exactly the same for all of our races this season. So just now 20 minutes in, so maybe another 4 or 5 laps before we see cars coming in, and that's why the guys are getting ready on the pit lane. It's an exceptionally short lap here for the front running cars, under 70 seconds, about 67, 66 seconds. Our best lap was 66.9 seconds, and that's Jonathan Bomarito who got that about 5 laps ago in the leading Mazda. Our Porsche keys to the race, track position, watch your fuel and tyres. Remember though, it's a sprint race, you may have to be patient. Well, it took 15 minutes for the number 55 to get to the head of the field. Now, incident responsibility warning on the screen for the 85 car, Misha Goikberg in that car. Now, I wonder if that is the 85 or maybe that's the 86. Trent Hinman, who we saw in contact with the class leader earlier on. I'll confirm that for you in a wee moment's time. But at the moment, that's a strike against Misha Goikberg in the JDC Miller Motorsport bright yellow Cadillac prototype. Philippe Albuquerque puts in his fastest lap of the race in the Cadillac number 5, 107.7. It's the dark grey Mustang sampling machine. Big gaggle of cars on the Andretti straight. And the leader is in there and trying to put laps on the GTD cars, GT Le Mans cars actually.
Yeah, and the LMP2 second place car as well. It's Dalton Keller to the wheel of number 52 for PR1 Matheson Motorsports. He started this race. And where's the number 84 car? Okay, the 84 car after its pit stop has now gone a lap down to the Mazda. Oh, that was awfully tight.
Very close. And the car that loses out is the Corvette. Had to go very wide at turn 1 as the race leader was diving down the inside of 2 cars. And it was a very close call indeed. And the number 3 Corvette has got Joey Hand behind him and lost a lot of ground there for Jan Magnussen. He'll have dirty Michelin tyres now as well, having run right round the outside of turn 1. Now the battle coming through for second position overall. And Magnussen has to be very aware of what's going on. There's 3 cars battling for second in the DPI category as they head up to Moss Corner. Outstanding stuff from all of these drivers, having the mental ability and agility to drive these race cars on one of the fastest circuits that IMSA goes to, whilst all the while battling with competitors who want the same piece of road that you've got and letting the faster cars come through and knowing where they're going to go through. Extraordinary stuff. Martin Jones has just tweeted in, he says, I'm loving this. It's basically the equivalent of having the ELMS at Knock Hill. That's brilliant, absolutely brilliant analogy. It will make sense to anyone who is interested in motor racing in the UK, you're not far off actually, a little bit longer around here, but very much the same feeling to this circuit, uphill and down dale, and it's a beautiful old school circuit, and the current management should be congratulated in keeping the character of the circuit as it has been since 1961, challenging the drivers and the engineers to get a car that works around here, and then to get someone who's prepared to come and drive it, as we said earlier on the very ragged edge of the ragged edge. Battle for second. Now up with the two Porsches, which are in third and fourth position, 911 and 912 in those Brumos tribute colours under the Mobil 1 bridge, and heading onto the Mario Andretti straight. Two Acuras and a Mazda battling for second, and the Mazda number 77, Tristan Nunez, just having a little sneaky look on the inside of the very fast right-hander at turn 8. There's traffic ahead, and that is the second place GT Le Mans car down the inside. That was very close indeed, but the Mazda had to go through because Juan Montoya was sniffing the exhaust there of the 2-litre turbocharged Mazda RT24P. Cannot take your eyes off this, Jeremy.
You can't, and it's so difficult. It's physically and mentally demanding for all of the drivers in this field, because just look at the last lap. The number 55 car pulled out 3 seconds over that battle for second place, which is super tight. And that was purely as a result of the traffic, and it's the ebbs and flows here that you've just got to keep in the back of your mind as a driver around here. You know you're going to lose time at some stage, and you know also the guys you're battling with are going to lose time as well. It just might be at different times.
Amazing for me, and if you've got the ability to go on the Mazda onboards wherever you are in the world, if you go to the Mazda Sports site, you can look at the Mazda onboards, particularly looking at the 55 and 77 Mazdas. Look at the right front wheel and see how that, as the car gets faster and faster, the aerodynamic downforce pushes that wheel into the gap in the top of the fender where the louvres normally are. It's just an open area there to vent the air out of the low pressure point underneath the wheel arch. Very close moment. John Bennett was the other prototype involved, going past the Corvette at turn number 1. Jan Magnussen somehow, oh no, there was a little touch actually, but Jan Magnussen managing to use all of his experience of now 151 starts with Corvette racing to keep that car roughly on the straight and narrow. Yeah, just look at the deflection on the tyre. It comes right up through that hole in the bodywork. A good maybe half, 3/4 of an inch, maybe a little bit more, which is a lot of movement on a racing car, and that's how much the aero is working and pushing that car into the ground. Very impressive piece of engineering that indeed. Jonathan Bomarito using it to his best advantage now, 8 seconds ahead of Helio Castro-Neves and Tristan Nunez, with Juan Montoya right there, and coming to join them for a bit of fun, the first of the Cadillacs, the 31, Felipe Nasser, in the red and white Whelan car as he cuts through the traffic as well.
Yeah, he's lost out a fair bit over the last handful of laps or so. The gap from Nasser to the battle in front of him, it's around about 4 seconds. I guess that's actually stabilised now to about 4 seconds. It was about 4 or 5 laps ago that the gap suddenly went out to that from just a few car lengths. So all of the leaders here running pretty similar lap times when they can get some clear traffic, and that's not very often.
Change it in the top of GT Le Mans as the Ford GT of Ryan Briscoe has dropped from second down to 4th position. Both Patrick Pilet and Lawrence Vanto in their 911 and 912 Porsches have gone through and now have 3 seconds to hunt down, or have a 3-second gap before they can hunt down the leader, still Jesse Krohn, who started from pole position, of course, in that category. In GT Le Mans then, it's BMW, Porsche, Porsche, Ford, BMW, Corvette, Ford, and Chevy Corvette. Marcel Fesler still only 11.5, call it 11.8 seconds away from the class leader in GT Le Mans. It's closed up in LMP2 as well, Jeremy. Was 9 seconds, now under 5 between Kellett and Masson. Cal Masson leading in that number 38 car. And that's been a good drive by both of those young drivers. Dalton Kellett for PR1 Matheson Motorsport has closed down on the leader. Traffic, I'm sure, playing its part there as well. Trying to keep an eye on all 4 classes at the same time. Never an easy thing to do, but this is such an intense racetrack in terms of what's going on, even on the long straight, which, as we keep saying, isn't a straight. There's still things to be thought about from the drivers. They'll be checking their gauges. Here's the battle for second on that part of the track now. And for a moment, Montoya, in fact, Montoya's gone through. So Montoya goes through into 3rd position ahead of the Mazda. So the Mazda, a moment or two ago, Tristan Nunez was battling with Castro Neves and now finds himself back down in 4th.
Yeah, I think
this is great stuff.
One or other was on the grass there for a little while, weren't they? I keep my eye out also on the DPI cars. The car number 54, John Bennett, doing a good job. He's running in 9th position. He's remaining on the lead lap, pretty comfortable at this stage. The last couple of laps are within a 1/10 of a second of his fastest laps of the race in the mid-1 minute 9s, and that's compared to the sort of low 7s ultimate laps for the race leader. So a good job by John. If you can hang on for a little while, they should be expecting pit stops fairly soon now for the protest. But it's not. But we'll see now whether he will hand over to Colin Brown at this first pit stop. I fancy he will.
Yeah, just 29 minutes gone. There's no need for. Well, John still registered for the?
I think he's got such a big lead in the Jim Truman,
right?
Aiken Truman Award.
Yeah. So, okay, that's fine. So prototypes we expected to do around about 30 to 35 minutes. We're coming up on the bottom end of that fuel window right now. Here at the Mobil 1 SportsCar Grand Prix, presented by Acura, live from trackside, IMSA Radio and IMSA TV together as we bring this global community that is sports car and endurance racing fans. Great to have you all with us here at the track and further afield. And what a beautiful day to be racing. They say, don't they, that even a bad day at a racetrack is better than a great day in the office. But this is a great day at a great racetrack, and we're watching some fantastically competitive motor racing with Jonathan Bomarito now 11 seconds to the good. Already halfway down the straight. That's just fantastic, Jeremy. This might be the best weather in terms of the temperature, a little bit of breeze that we've ever had here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. Certainly this is a golden day. And with the lap times we saw earlier on in the week that we've not seen for a decade and more, DPI Racing announcing itself as if we didn't already know, as taking its place at the very highest echelons of international motor racing. So we were just wondering how the Mazda lost its 3rd position, going round the outside of Bayer Figueiredo through 2 and 3. Nothing wrong from Bayer, but the 77 car with Tristan Nunez picked the wrong side, really, and went off onto the green, onto the dirt, and that was all that Juan Montoya needed. And so when we saw them side by side on the back straight later on the same lap, that was the Mazda trying to come back and retake that 3rd position. Dirty Michelins, I would have thought, for Tristan Nunez would have hampered his progress just a little bit. So 11 seconds between 1st and 2nd, and then barely a couple of seconds between the next 3 cars. Castro Neves, Juan Montoya and Tristan Nunez. Acura, and then that dark metallic red, soul crystal red Mazda, which sometimes looks black in sunshine. It's an extraordinary colour. In LMP2, still Simon Trimmer, Hop Suisse, leading for the 38, but that's down to just over 4 seconds now, that lead, as Dalton Kellett is fighting his way back towards the leader, and that's been a good drive by Dalton. He's let things settle down a little bit. The gap went down to 9 seconds at one stage in the traffic, but he's calmed himself down, took a few deep breaths, and is now just starting to reel Calmasson in a tiny bit.
Yeah, certainly has been a good drive by the 25-year-old Dalton Kellett. Good to see him taking this opportunity to get aboard a sports car here, and he's taking the full advantage of the opportunity with the PR1 Matheson Motorsports team. His teammate Matt McMurray is fast, we know that, and he's in good shape right now. He's running exactly where he kind of needs to be.
So prototype pit stops imminent in GT Le Mans. Jesse Krohn from Patrick Peely and Lawrence Van Tour. That's your top three. BMW from the two Porsches. And here comes one of the Acuras. It looks like Juan Montoya's in first. Yes, it is. Juan Montoya, the number 6. So he will immediately drop down the order. It is such a short lap here. You can afford absolutely no problems in the pits. One of our Porsche keys to the race. You have to execute in the pits. Shea Adam is down at Acura Team Penske.
It looks like it's going to be a pretty standard stop for the number 6 Acura Team Penske DPI as well. If you've got a guy who's won this race twice before, you'll want to put him in the car as quickly as possible, and that's exactly what they've done. Juan Pablo Montoya walking casually over to the wall as Dane Cameron has already put his seat insert and himself behind the wheel of the number 6. 4 tires, brand new. They do have stickers on them, just waiting on the final left rear tire to go on. Car drops off the air jacks. The fuel nozzle still attached. Dane revs the engine as he is known to do. Championship leaders coming into this race. Fuel nozzle is out and Dane is off.
That is about as good as it gets as far as pit stops is concerned, and he will get out just without going a lap down, but only just. The leader will be coming across the line any time now. In fact, now. So he's just at the bottom of turn 2 as the leader came across the line.
Yeah, and
here's the next two coming in, Jeremy. This is now second and third coming in together. The 7 and the 77, Mazda and Acura. Actually, Acura and Mazda. The Mazda will stop first. It's already being serviced whilst the number 7 is with Shea.
Ollie Jarvis is getting into that 77. New tires for him in the Mazda. And it is Ricky Taylor time for the number 7 Acura Team Penske. New tires and fuel for that car as well. The 31, the first DPI did not do a driver change. They are doing fuel and tires only for the Whelen Engineering Cadillac. It might be able to jump everybody on the pit stops. Looks like the Acura is going to be the first one to pull away. Ricky Taylor revs the engine. He's waiting. The Mazda's moving. Ricky is sent, and Ricky is ahead of Ollie Jarvis. The Cadillac is still in its pit box. Let's see. Oh man, Ollie Jarvis is right on the tail of Ricky. That's going to be a fun battle when they come off the pit lane speed limiter. And now the Cadillac leaves as well.
I'd venture there that as round the outside comes the other Acura. So they'll drop back into the same position. Leader is in and came in side by side with the number 85. That's the Cadillac of Misha Goldberg. So here's the leader. Was 12 seconds to the good. Shea.
Misha is not getting out of the Cadillac, just so you know about that stop. Number 55, still Jonathan Bomarito. He is not yet done driving this Mazda DPI that took him to victory lane last week. They did give him a new drinks bottle, though. It's hard work behind the wheel of that Mazda. He's getting 4 new tires and fuel. They're just waiting on the stop to complete. The number 5 Mustang sampling Cadillac is also in. Philippe Albuquerque started that car. He is still going to be driving it when it leaves the pit lane. Just new tires and fuel for the Mustang sampling Cadillac. The Mazda is back underway. Perfect stop. It leads well ahead of the 85 Cadillac of Misha Goldberg. And the other car that is in is the number 4 Cadillac, number 4 Corvette, excuse me, Oliver Gavin taking over for Marcel Fessler.
And a full stop for that in service as well with a new set of Michelin's going on. The lanky Englishman bolts himself in. I've no idea how he managed to do the straps up. The steering wheel sitting up, and that hasn't restarted. Ollie wasn't quite ready when the car came down, and that's cost them a couple of 3 seconds. But Ollie Gavin is now moving in that number 4 Corvette. So Philippe Albuquerque has been scored as the leader in the number 5 Cadillac DPI. I think courtesy of where he was on the pit lane. Jordan Taylor has gone through and has not yet stopped. So that car is leading the race. So I'd expect to see the glossy black Cadillac, and even as I say that, of course, it does come into the pits this time around. So how far ahead is Jonathan Bomarito? Has he still managed to have that 12 seconds? I reckon he's actually extended that 12 seconds by at least a couple or 3, and we'll check that as they come back around. Meantime, Ricky Taylor out of the Konica Minolta Cadillac. Jordan Taylor out of that Konica Minolta Cadillac. Renger van der Zande gets in. New set of Michelin's going on there, and a full tank of fuel, stationary 19 seconds for the moment. The door is closed under 20 seconds, so now they're just waiting for the fuel. And that bright yellow helmet of Renger installs himself. 32 seconds from stop to go. pretty impressive stop by the Wayne Taylor Racing guys. So that's the first round of pit stops for the DPI cars coming. Well, that was actually the Cadillac. That Wayne Taylor Racing Cadillac went about 38 minutes, Jeremy, which was a little further than we expected those guys to go. That was with a couple of formation laps as well.
Yeah, that's right. The first couple of guys were in about 35 minutes, and that was a pretty good pace in the early stint. I mean, we've got new lap record times there, and even through traffic they were running in the 7s. The old lap record here was running a 7.2, so it's certainly been a good pace, and I think they're all
new fastest lap of the race, 106.9 for Jonathan Bomarito. Had to though, because Dane Cameron's just done a 7.2 and he did a cracking outlap, and he's cut that lead, which was nearly 12 seconds, down to 3.4. I thought that might have gone out there because it looked like such a good stop. But what do I know? Dane Cameron in the 6 car, now ahead of Ricky Taylor, his teammate, by 2.6 seconds.
And it's Ricky Taylor who's now responded. He's set the fastest lap of the race as well on this lap. So that lead, by the way, on the lap before the pit stop, it came down from 12 seconds down to 7 with some heavy traffic. But now it's come back a lot. It's been halved from there now between Jonathan Bomarito and Dane Cameron.
Ollie Jarvis down into the 6s as well, 106.9. So all of the leading cars doing their best laps on their first lap out of the pits, and that's with a full fuel load and a new set of Michelins. Meantime, the GT Le Mans battle continues, and Marcel Fessler, well, it's not Marcel Fessler, is it? It's Ollie Gavin. I saw him get into that car. So Ollie Gav has gone a lap down to the class leader, but the class leader has not yet stopped, crucially. And that is important. We're still waiting for Jesse Krohn to come in the BMW M8 GTE. I just wonder if Corvette are splitting the race up into smaller packets to try and get themselves a bit of track position here, and not necessarily having to fill the car full every time. Just sitting ahead at the moment, Ollie Gavin, just sitting ahead of the 2 battling Porsches, but that is the only car that's made its pit stop. It could be there was a problem, of course, for Marcel Fessler, which brought it in early. Shea will get onto that, I'm sure. Still to pit, the number 54. And that is John Bennett doing a cracking job. And right on the end of the lead lap, he must be. Yes, he is. Yeah,
he stayed on the lead lap because he stayed out, but he was making his pit stop. He's in the pits now, right.
And he'll lose the lead lap at that point. Fastest laps for all of the top 6. Make that the top 7 last time around, including Albuquerque and Trummer. They're down into the 106s as well on that relatively clear opening lap after their pit stop. Now, we're waiting for the other GT Le Mans stops. No sign of the GT Daytonas, and neither would I expect them to be. It'll be another 10 minutes or so for the GTD cars. They'll go a little further into this race. Shea added movement at Corvette.
The number 3 this time, their crew up on the wall and the pit board is down. Antonio Garcia, the King of Spain, will be taking over for Jan Magnussen.
I thought she said the King of Spin there. I was thinking, are we watching cricket all of a sudden? We've just gone under the 2-hour mark, still to go. So 42 minutes have elapsed. The 2 Porsches in team formation go past us. There's the 96, the leading GT Daytona car as well. Now, does the Corvette peel off into the pits? It does, just as the leader is coming into a huge amount of traffic. He's just cleared that. Great battle going on between Ollie Jarvis, Ricky Taylor and Dane Cameron, who are all mired in traffic. Not far behind there, Philippe Albuquerque in the menacing number 5 Mustang sampling, the dark grey Cadillac rumbling up towards them. GT Le Mans pit stop for the number 3, and out gets Jan Magnussen, in gets Antonio Garcia.
I think I see the problem with the number 4 Corvette, but I'll get to that in a moment. Scrub rubber going on to the number 3 Corvette as a crew member runs over to the wall holding the board of doom. We had problems last week with the radio in the number 3 Corvette. It looks like this week it's with the number 4. Perhaps that's why the stop was a bit longer, as Ollie was trying to make sure that he could hear, indeed, Hollywood talking to him on the radio, Antonio had a little bit of problems getting the car into gear, leaving the pit box, but he does manage it to get going. Once again, I'm going to confirm with Corvette to make sure that it is radio problems for the number 4.
Yeah, had a couple of goes at getting first gear. Antonio Garcia cost him maybe a second and a half, but he's back out onto the circuit. Watch the blend line on the way out. He did. That was fine. At IMSA Radio, if you want to get in touch, we're live from trackside from Canadian Tire Motorsport Park for the Mobil 1 SportsCar Grand Prix presented by Acura. Here's our Cadillac in-race update after the first pit stops of probably 3 this afternoon for DPI. Jonathan Bomarito by 2.8 seconds, just been closed down. Tiny amounts here by Dane Cameron in the number 6 Acura DPI, the Penske car. New third position. Ollie Jarvis has got past Ricky Taylor in the 77 car, so the 77 now third, and trying to close down what has all of a sudden become a 3-second gap to Dane Cameron, who's got through the traffic brilliantly there. I suspect there was a bit of a fumble through the traffic, and that's how Ollie Jarvis took his chance on Ricky Taylor, who is still in 4th position. Top Cadillac, Felipe Nasser in the 31 wheel and red and white car. LMP2, it is the it is the Dalton Kellett car that has gone through after the pit stops. So that is a change. The PR1 Matheson Motorsport gets ahead of Performance Tech after the pit stop. So those two cars have swapped round, and there are 17 seconds between those two. So Kyle Masson must have had some kind of problem. GT Le Mans waiting for the top cars to come in, and in fact they'll do that, so we'll leave that category to one side for the moment. GTD, before they start their pit stops, Robbie Foley leading for BMW from pole position. Acura of Trent Hinman second, that's the dark grey stroke black and pink car. Then Zachary Robichon, and then in fourth position, Frankie Montecalvo in the best of the Lexus. Whilst I was going through that Cadillac in-race update from Cadillac V-Series, because real races don't take days off, we have had a Porsche pit stop, Shea.
That was for the number 912 Porsche. Earl Bamber taking it back out of the pit lane. 4 new Michelin tires and fuel. We also had a pit stop for the number 66 Ford GT. Dirk Mueller brought it in. Joey Hand took it out. Fuel and tires for that one as well. And I did check in with Corvette Racing. They said it's always something. It is the other car that has been affected with radio issues this weekend. It's the Force turn.
Unbelievable. What a season they're having. And yet, of course, Antonio Garcia, Jan Magnussen, defending champions without winning a race last year, right in the championship hunt again after another podium finish last weekend at Watkins Glen. Jonathan Bomarito stretches the lead. As soon as the Mazda gets into clear air, they are gone. 5.2 seconds now. The lead over the Acura of Dane Cameron. Dane Cameron and Jonathan Bomarito know each other very well indeed. Now, GTD starting to peel off into the pit lane. Patrick Lindsay's Porsche, that's the Park Place dark grey car coming in. The Lexus of Richard Highstand, the bright yellow number 14, and also the white and black number 63 coming into the pit lane. That's the Ferrari. Oh, and was there a touch in the pit lane? There was, as Patrick Lindsay braked for the stop line, or the speed limit line, catching Richard Highstand out, and there was a clip right front of the Lexus to left rear of the Porsche. Shares and pits.
No damage to the left front of the Lexus. That's the good news for them, as Richard Highstand gets out of that car and Jack Lexus takes over his bright green helmet. But it will be another bright green helmet that beats him out of the pit lane. Pat Long taking over the Patmobile. 4 tires and fuel for all 3 of the cars that have been stopped. And now I wait as the 63 Scuderia of course Ferrari comes at me. Is that the Viking? It is. Tony Valander behind the wheel of the Ferrari.
A little chat with Tony before the grid formed up. What a professional that man is, and made a point of coming over and talking to us about our broadcast and saying how important it was. Team effort, he understands that. Thank you, Tony, that was very kind. Our colleagues up in Charlotte, as well as the technical team here at trackside, and of course Rob, Kerry and Tim back in London, all working hard to bring this to you around the world, and appreciated by Tony Vilander and his followers apparently, so thank you for that, Tony. And if you're a Vilander follower, he's in the car now. So watch that number 63 car go. Big crowd on hand here. Some fantastic vantage points. Hello to everybody at Turn 5, Moss Corner. And particularly to the track services guys up there. They were busy yesterday. Well done to you guys. Keeping everything running so well. Bommarito, despite the fact that Dane Cameron's put his best lap of the race in a 107.8, now 6 seconds up the road. So we've still got a BMW leading in the shape of Jesse Krohn in GT Le Mans. BMW leading in GTD in the shape of Robbie Foley. He's just gone through. Oh, good battle for second though in GTD. Hinman and Robichon absolutely together, going down to turn 1.
And that's been the case all the way through this race. It's a really, really good battle there for second place. But Robbie Foley has managed to edge out a little bit. 2.5 seconds the lead from for Robbie Foley in the BMW over that battle for second place between the Acura and the Porsche.
In comes Frankie Montecalvo in the number 14 Lexus from AIM. And also coming in right in front of me, the 76 Compass Racing McLaren. Great to see the orange and grey car back. Shea's got the Lexus.
It's a driver change, Sean. Fuel and tires. Townsend Bell will be going back out on the racetrack. And also we're expecting the Magnus Lamborghini, which is in now. John Potter has done his time. He can spend the rest of the day with his beautiful kids on the pit box. Andy Lally, the monster, is going out on the track.
When are we going to see the leading BM? This is impressive fuel mileage from BMW number 24, Jeremy. We're coming down to 55 minutes here already.
Yeah, that's fine. They should be able to do just around about an hour, just short of an hour. But what is particularly impressive, I think, about that stint for Jesse Krohn in the lead is he's looked after his tyres and he's actually extended the lead just a little bit over the 911. It's actually now over 9 seconds. No, that's just from second to third now. It's 9 seconds last time around between first and second in GTLM.
And in GTD, Robbie Foley has come in, but staying out Trent Hinman and Zachary Robichon. Great mileage for those guys as well. Adam.
Fuel and tires for the Turner Motorsport BMW, as well as Bill Power. It is Bill Oberlin's turn to drive, and he does have a lucky crystal in his pocket, so he's ready to see if that will help. Also in the cat car, the number 57 Acura. That is Bia Figueroa, who has done an excellent job this weekend. I do want to have a chat with her. And Catherine Legg will be taking that out. Also, fuel and 4 new tires.
An hour and 49 minutes still to go. Live from trackside, Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. Beautiful summer Sunday afternoon for the Mobil 1 SportsCar Grand Prix, presented by Acura. Bill Oberlin rejoins in the blue and yellow number 96 Turner BMW. Comes to the RFID readers that will log his Michelin tyres as he goes back out through the very tight and slippery pit lane exit. Stays to the right-hand side of the blend line. Side by side for second in GTD. Now, are they coming to the pits this time? They might be, you know. No, they're still going round. Hinman just staying ahead of Zachary Robichon. 2 very, very quick drivers down towards turn 1. The Sirius XM sponsored black and pink Acura NSX with one of the Acura prototypes coming through there as well. That'll be Ricky Taylor going past those guys, just interfering for a moment. No, it wasn't. That was Dane Cameron, because there's Ollie Jarvis right on his tailpipes. GT Le Mans stops. We've just had the 25 BMW, Tom Blomqvist in and out, and Ryan Briscoe now, Adam in the pit lane in the number 67, the blue and orange for GT.
They both came in together and they both left together. 5 just ahead of the 67. Fuel and tires for both cars. It's now Connor DeFilippi in the 25. And Richard Westbrook wearing slightly pink fluffy bunny slippers in the 67.
Yeah, maybe that's going to be, they've put Richard in there to do his famous I can make fuel run in the middle portion of the race. It's a possibility. Gert from Germany tweeting at IMSA, look at that BMW go, the number 24, about a second faster on average a lap than the Porsches. I think that's what Jeremy was saying earlier on, Gert. Our Porsche keys to the race. Tyre management here, very, very important as the temperatures are climbing this afternoon. And it looks to me as though Jesse Krohn has done a very good job of pacing himself through to the end of the stint. Got to be due in shortly. That first 2, the only 2 of the GT Le Mans field who have yet to stop. And they've had really, really good pace. starting to get a battle now as well for 4th position, with Ricky Taylor now beginning to come under pressure from Philippe Nassi. They've gone through turn 3 at the moment. The white, black and orange Acura and the red, white wheel and Cadillac. Up to turn 5, Moss Corner, and there's a battle for position ahead. Tony Vielander and Catherine Legg in the Acura and Ferrari. 57 Acura is Cat, and Tony is in the 63, the white and black Ferrari, and they're in 8th and 9th in GTD, so they'll have to have their wits about them as those two prototypes straight past on the fast Andretti straight. Getting up towards 180 miles an hour for the prototypes here before they gird their loins to turn into turn number 8. It's extraordinary to watch the cars turning in there. Quite clearly the laws of physics are far more selective than we thought when it comes to prototype racing. We'll take a quick breather as Shea Adam can talk to one of the drivers who's done the opening stint.
Jordan Taylor, you seem to get the best fuel economy out there. You were the last of the pit stoppers. Is that your strategy, trying to stretch it out?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, that's our only hope to have a good result here. Where all the Cadillacs are kind of in their own race, kind of mid-pack, so we're kind of going off strategy. We started saving fuel right at the beginning and extended it over, I think, 4 laps over a couple guys, 2 laps over a couple others. So hopefully that'll pay off in the end.
Now, does it need to stay green in order for your strategy to pay off?
I mean, at this point, yeah, I think if it goes as is, we can do 1 less stop. So that would be ideal, but we'll see. A long way to go.
Hey, fingers crossed for you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow, that is a bold statement for the number 10 Cadillac. Renger van der Zande then in 7th position in the number 10 car. But they have set their sights on a potentially full green race and trying to do 1 fewer pit stop than the other prototypes. You can't make that decision in the middle of a race though, Jeremy. You've got to set your stall out early, and that's clearly what they've done there. They've done the calculations and they reckon it must be close.
Yeah, they certainly stretched it out there. They did 3 more laps than number 6 car. They're going to be, they made it to almost 40 minutes, which is about what you need to. So this is a 2 hours and 40-minute race, so that's 160 minutes.
160 minutes.
So you need to do it. You need to have 40-minute stints. If you can do that, maybe you can get to the end on 1 less pit stops than the other guys. It's small margins in this sport, and if there's a yellow, then that strategy goes out of the window. But if it doesn't, if it is all green all the way, and it's been green thus far in this race now with 48 laps now completed by our race leader Jonathan Bomarito. 1 minute 7.8 again last time around. Again, the fastest lap of the race was set a little while ago by Ricky Taylor, 106.3.
Bit of drama out on the racetrack. In from 2nd, Trent Hinman came into the pits. The car he was racing, the number 9, had been in the lap before. Scott Hargrove on his outlap has lubed the car at turn 5 and given away any possible advantage. He would have been told to push on the outlap. He did slightly too much of that, but he's got back pointing in the right direction, still staying green. And now we're hearing the number 14 was involved as well, the Lexus of Jack Hawksworth, and there's damage to the left front of that car. And Hawksworth is back in the pit lane, so there has been drama down there. Shea Adam watched the 2nd placed Acura come in and is now watching the number 14 coming in with left front damage.
Missing its dive planes on the left front. That will need a new bumper cover at the very least. The crew has told Jack to shut the engine off, so there might be some overheating issues as well. They pulled the hood up and just sort of unceremoniously dropped it on the pit lane, looking to see if everything is okay. Now they're signaling that the hood should go back on. I'm not sure if this is maybe to send it back out on the racetrack or to send it behind the wall, but clearly the crew is not happy with what they saw, and they're going behind the wall. This is the 2nd place car in the GTD Championship, and it is not a good day for the hometown heroes. For the number 86 pit stop, by the way, that was just simple fuel, tires, and Super Mario.
Well, what happened there, Scott Hargrove was on his outlap and went very, very wide in the middle of turn 5 and actually went off the track. And as he rejoined, the 14 car was already at the apex of the corner. Now, you could say the 14 car was being a bit ambitious, but you could also say it was an unsafe rejoin from Scott Hargrove, because he'd been completely off the track.
Yeah.
And I could see that going either way. I rather fear for the hometown Porsche team, it's going to go against Scott Hargrove, because it was his mistake, Jeremy, that took him off the track. Therefore, his responsibility to look to his right to see when he rejoined if there was someone there.
Yeah, it really is. I agree with you. I think it was a harsh one, and number 14 car has gone behind the wall. Yeah, that's a great shame, because the two front-running cars there, the Lexus, they've had a good season. They were struggling a little bit in the warm-up this morning with the kind of consistency of the car. The kind of balance was on a knife edge. If you got it right, it was great, but just a little bit off one way, and it was a bit of a struggle. And they always have to look after their tyres, of course. They've done a really good job of managing that. You finally see the GTLM leader into the pits after almost an hour of racing.
Yeah, pretty much spot on.
911 car in as well.
And Shea Adam is watching the first and second place cars in GTLM in the pit lane.
For the BMW, it's about to fly because a pilot is being installed behind the wheel. John Edwards taking over the 24. He's got new Michelins and a lot of fuel. As for the 911 Porsche, well, it's Nick Tandy time. Nick Tandy loves going fast. This is going to be one heck of a battle. They are also giving Nick 4 new Michelin tires and a lot of fuel. The BMW is rolling, and the Porsche is nowhere near ready to go. The driver's side door is still open, so the BMW should be out with plenty of spare room behind it. I say that, and the Porsche drops off the air jacks, fires the engine back up, fuel nozzle still attached. The BMW is long gone, though.
It's about 9 seconds between those cars before the pit stops, so it's not going to be a race out of the pit lane, but the Porsche will be trying to get every single drop of fuel in. Interesting that they went to the same lap, Jeremy, as the leading BMW. As back into the pit lane is Ricky Taylor. Philippe Albuquerque's gone through, and Felipe Nasser's gone through as well, and that is, I think, a single tyre change to the left front, Shea Adam.
Nope, they do a stagger change for this car, so false alarm there, but they are doing fuel and 4 tires that scrubbed rubber onto the Ricky Taylor's Acura. Just to follow up really quickly while that's going on, for the number 14 Lexus, it is a broken steering rack. That was a very nice stop for the Acura Team Penske boys, even though they did lose a wheel nut during that stop, and one of the crew members managed to pull a spare one off his belt.
Well, that was only a 20-second stop in the box, so they weren't in any way needing fuel, and that was early, Shea, so need to ask them what they're doing there. We've got exactly 100 minutes left to go, and that's still 2 pit stops from there. That there's no way that they can go 100 minutes on just one more pit stop, so that was an extra stop. I just wonder if they had a tyre alarm or something like that that's gone in. It's taken them completely off strategy. Drive through for Scott Hargrove of the number 9 FAF Porsche. Unsafe rejoining of the track, and that is incident responsibility with that broken steering rack for the 14. Well done, by the way, for that Lexus getting back to the pits if it had a broken steering rack, and they spotted that straight away. Fantastic stuff out on the circuit.
I think Jack would probably felt it, I would imagine.
Yeah, straight away. Straight away. Under 100 minutes to go then, Jeremy. Let's do a Cadillac in-race update in GTD with pit stops now completed. Bill Auburn leads from Super Mario Farmbach, and the 96 from the 86 from the 12. T-Bell up into 3rd position after that spin from the FAF car. Scott Hargrove's gone all the way down to 9th position, and he will go further down after that pit stop. So BMW number 96 leads, 86 Acura in 2nd. The gap is 11 seconds, 3 seconds further back. Townsend Bell in the number 12 Lexus, 5 seconds further back. Patrick Long in the number 73. That's the Park Place dark grey Porsche in GT Le Mans with their first pit stops completed. It's Porsche out front. Earl Bamber with the performance advantage of stopping early, got some clear air, and has pulled out 9 seconds on the best of the BMWs, which is the 24 car. However, in 3rd position, the 2nd BMW, the 25, just another 2.5 seconds further back. Then the 2 Ford GT 67, Richard Westbrook from 66. Then the 2nd of the Porsche. So Nick Tandy, having that car stay out a very long time, they had to put a lot of fuel in that car. It did seem to be stationary a long time, and he's dropped all the way down to 6th position ahead of the 2 Corvettes, which is Garcia from Ollie Gavin by about 6 seconds. But Tonio Garcia right up in behind the number 911 At the front of the field, Jonathan Bomarito leads Dane Cameron, but Cameron is under real pressure now for second place. Ollie Jarvis crosses the line about half a second behind the Acura, and they are just about 14 seconds further back down the road than the leader. The best of the Cadillacs is Philippe Nasser, who is in 4th position for Whelan Engineering. His teammate in the dark grey Mustang sampling car, is Philippe Albuquerque, and he's about another 3 seconds further back. LMP2, it is still Dalton Kellett after that pit stop turnaround in 11th position overall, who leads from Kyle Masson, 52 from 38. That's your Cadillac in race update with Cadillac V Series, because real races don't take time off. Phew, Jeremy, what a cracking opening. What hour now to this race?
I mean, this is a torrid pace. You know, it's been green all the way so far. The pace at the front has been absolutely superb from Jonathan Bomarito. Made that pass at the beginning, and he stretches lead out now to 13 seconds over Dane Cameron. Just doing a beautiful job thus far. Jonathan Bomarito is fighting his way through the traffic, but that battle for second is so tight. A lap or so ago, coming out of turn 11, Jarvis seemed to get a run on Cameron, but Cameron just able to keep him behind in an Acura car number 6.
Great turnaround for Porsche, who have won the last 4 GT Le Mans battles. Earl Bamber really got his head down. The Kiwi making the best use of those new Michelin tyres, which he got, 3 or 4 laps earlier than the rest of the GT Le Mans field. And my goodness, they got him into clear air, Jeremy. So our Porsche keys to the race: fuel, yes, but tyres and track position. And they obviously saw something there, an opportunity to get Earl back out into some clear air and get some quick laps. And he's turned around. He was in 3rd position, remember, and he's turned that into a 9-second, make that 8-second now lead over the BMWs. Let's go down to Shea Adam. We had a rather unexpected pit stop from the number 7 Acura Team Penske DPI. It was very early, Shea. What was the problem?
Sorry, John. It was a slow puncture on the left rear for Ricky Taylor, and Elio Castroneves said that happens, but we really, really need a caution right now. So he is doing his caution dance.
Okay.
Yeah, that number 7 car, it's still on the lead lap, but only just. So I think the next car behind it on the road
is the leader.
It's the race leader,
I think I saw them flash through
That's
recently,
right.
nose and tail. So I'd agree with that. I'd like to see Elio and his full course caution dance. Twinkle toes. Castroneves, of course. At IMSA Radio, if you want to get in touch with us, these short, medium races, absolutely incredible. Yeah, coming through the final corner now is the number 7 Acura Team Penske with Ricky Taylor on board, and on the front straight at the same time is the leader. So this is a very important part of the race. Meantime, in GTD, the BMW of Bill Oberlin still leads by 9 seconds. This is a great run by the Turner guys. They've put together a smashing and well-balanced BMW M6 GT3. Elegant car. That looks good as a road car, looks great as a race car. Rumour is that it could be an M4 that takes over as the GT3 car when the current lifespan of that M6 comes to an end. Now, if that is true, then that will be the first time in a while that BMW have had the same platform in 2 different categories. At the moment, the M4 is the GT4 car, the M6 is the GT3, and the M8 is the GT Le Mans car.
I think we can expect regular pit stops for the leaders, another 5 or 6 laps. Meantime, the car number 55, Jonathan Bomarito, has been at the wheel of that car since the start. He turned his best lap of the race a couple of laps ago at a 1:06.5. Again, the fastest lap of the race was set by Ricky Taylor back a little while ago, back on lap 34. We're now completed lap 57, 58 as Bomarito goes across the line, but a really good pace at the front. But you know, the lap times vary so much here as they work their way through the traffic. That lap for Bomarito was 1:09.1, so you're 2.5 seconds away from the lap before.
Bia Figueiredo, what a a heck of a start to the IMSA career in the sprint races. First time to Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, and you're thrown out there right in the middle of all that battling. It looked like a lot of fun from the pit lane, but what was it like from the driver's seat?
Well, for me it was kind of tough. It's my first sprint race, and traffic is really hard here. The car wasn't really quite what I wanted. We kind of went through what Catherine preferred because she's the one that finished in the race, so it was a bit struggle for me. Unfortunately, I lost 2 positions in the start in the first lap, and it was really hard to catch. So I was kind of surviving right there, and now just rooting for Catherine so she can move up some positions.
What would help Catherine at this stage, caution or stay green?
I think caution will be good, just to kind of pack together, and maybe she's able to get some position, restart, and kind of change the strategy a little bit. Right now, the way it is, we're a little bit far, so yeah, I think the most important is stay top 5 and try to get maybe an opportunity to get more positions so we can finish the podium. That would be great.
Fingers crossed for that. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Hello to Steve Taylor, spending a sunny summer's evening in the UK. Barbecue, some adult beverages, and as he says, some great motor racing courtesy of IMSA, presented faultlessly again. I can't think of a better way to spend my time. Hello, Steve. Enjoy the evening. What is it, 7:15 there on what has been another lovely weekend, apparently in the UK and Europe, right in the middle of some fantastic summer weather. Undoubtedly, when I land there tomorrow, it'll start raining again. I won't get the opportunity to enjoy it. Can't complain about the weather here. Clear blue Canadian skies with 90 minutes to go. 55, Jonathan Bomarito streaks across the line and down towards turn 1.
Yeah, with the number 7 car directly ahead of him now. I mean, right ahead, right within his sights, just a 10-12 car lengths behind us. Number 55 car just held up a little bit, trying to get past the lapped car there. That's the 3rd pace car in GTD, the Lexus, driven now by Townsend Bell. In GTD, Bill Oberlin, who's taken over from Robbie Foley. The gap from 1st to 2nd now is about 9 seconds to, in the 2nd place car, Mario Farnbacher. And then in 3rd position, Townsend, he's about 7.5 seconds behind in the 3rd place. Then another short gap back to number 73 car, Patrick Long.
Sad to say the LMP2 battle's been broken up again. Calmerson in the pit lane with the engine cover of the number 38 Orica. Meantime, Jeremy, how hard then do you tell, if you're on the pit wall, how hard do you tell Jonathan Bomarito to push to put that car a lap down? The second of the Acuras. Oh, there was a little brush past there for the Acura on the number 63 WeatherTech car. Currently Tony Vielander going across the start-finish line. And was there any damage to that car there? Don't see it. Might have got away with that. Yeah, there was some damage. There was an issue. It was Dane Cameron, and he's in the pit lane. Now, is that a little bit early as well? Shea Adam.
The left front looks like it's down a little bit, John. That could just be an optical illusion as Dane comes into the pits. The crew was up on the wall. They were expecting Dane in, so this is not early. As well as the number 31 Whalen Engineering Cadillac. That crew is up on the wall. It's time to unleash the Peepo. It's fuel and tires only for Dane. I noticed they're doing scrub rubber on both of the Acuras. It seems to be a little bit happier when it's not on that shiny new black surface of the Michelin. It's Peepo in, NASA out, and it is Barbosa getting in as Albuquerque gets out. Fuel and tires for both of the Action Express Cadillacs. The pit stop still going on for the Acura, just waiting on the fuel for Dane Cameron. As there it goes, fuel nozzle comes out and Dane is sent. The 31 Whalen Engineering Cadillac, which came in just behind him, will leave a little bit further behind with the pit stop still going on. 26, 27 seconds stationary, and Peepo has a little bit of trouble getting the car going. They had a gearbox issue earlier in the week. Has to change that, but he does manage to engage it at first and pull out onto the track.
So that actually was a roundabout on time, wasn't it, for the number 6?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, number 6 of Dane Cameron, so my apologies there. But it did look like there was contact between the Acura that was passing Tony Vielander in the 63 WeatherTech Ferrari. Nick Tandy putting in a slew of really impressive laps since he's come back onto the track and taken over that number 911 Porsche. That's good stuff as well. So let's go back there. We've got Masters first and second now, of course, after that pit stop from the Acura. So let's go back to that question, Jeremy. How hard do you tell Jonathan Bomarito to put the number 7 and Ricky Taylor a lap down?
Not hard. The number 55 car is a pretty good handy lead at the moment, so there's no point in stretching that too far. They're quite happy. You only need to win by a second. You don't need to win by a lap. Yes, it'd be nice to keep the Acuras a lap down for sure, but the important thing now is just to run a clean race. Jonathan Bomarito, he's got 15 seconds over his teammate. Number 6 car, of course, has just made its pit stop, so we'll see how hard the number 6 car can push. Dane Cameron is that back at the wheel of that car? Well, no, he's remained at the wheel of that car, hasn't he? So he will now, he's just ahead of the number 7 car on the road. So if the number 7 car, which having made a pit stop only 10 laps ago, if that can stay out there, maybe hold up the race leader a little bit, then that could certainly play to the favour of the Acura Team Penske. So I think we'll find, at this stage it would be certainly good if Bomarito could get past number 7 car, but I think he's going to find it awfully difficult, and he doesn't want to push the envelope too hard.
Now here's a bit of a danger time as well for the number 77 driver in second place, Ollie Jarvis. He's coming to put a lap on Pipo Durrani, who's already a lap back on the leader on the pit stops at least, and we'll expect to see that 77 come into the pit shortly. Can't be that far away. He's right up in behind as they come in to turn 8, and they've got the BMW leader in GTD right there. I think Jarvis is coming in this time around because he didn't try to pass the BMW. Oh, he has. He's gone around the outside. Thought for a moment he was going to dive off right into the pits. Definitely, though, coming in is the Cadillac number 85 of Misha Goikberg. That will be a regular stop for them. So we're coming into the second set of pit stops for the DPIs, and everybody apart from the top 3 have made their second stops already. And Colin Brown, of course, who's still only made 1 stop, but that Nissan is off the lead lap at the moment. Let's see how that plays out, of course, when the leaders come into the pits. Hour and 25 minutes to go. The good news is that the Oregon number 38 has got back out again. Cameron Castles took that car back out, but it's dropped now a couple of laps on its class-leading competitor.
Race leader on pit lane, 65 laps completed, and that's I'm sure they'd be relieved to be able to bring that car in now. They've done 34 laps on this stint. That's a really good stint by car number 55, but much longer than the Penske Acuras.
Jonathan Bomarito gets out of the number 55 Mazda, handing over to Harry Tingle, who's getting 4 new Michelin tires, and those ones, yeah, I'd say they're new. They don't have the bright shininess on them, but they certainly have never been used before. Driver change still going on. The car is still up on its air jacks. Now comes down. The door closes, and the fuel tub is still attached. A windshield tear off for Harry Tingle, so he'll be able to see where he's going around the 2.459 miles of Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. The car is inching forward, and Harry is sent. Meanwhile, behind Oliver Jarvis, getting fuel and tires and 4 scrubbed Michelin tires by the looks of it. Waiting on the fuel, he too is getting a windshield tear off. This makes such a big difference. It's incredible to see that even during a sprint race, an hour worth of racing makes it nearly impossible to see through the windshield. Oliver Jarvis also sent on its way, and those cars just creeping forward ever so slightly, not engaged in gear. That should not be a penalty.
That was a good long run for the 77 then, Jeremy, because I seem to remember that car stopped before its teammate last time around.
1 lap before last time around, that's right. But we are running
really deep into the pit stop area. Late call for the second place Ollie Jarvis Mazda, and would have had to change the Michelin because he was locked up from the exit of turn 9 all the way to the line. Now the question is, did he get that car slowed down to the pit lane speed limit in time?
Yeah, he was trying to turn some quick laps there in order to jump the number 6
Correct.
car on that pit sequence.
And I think he has.
Has he? Okay, well, because he'd been held up in traffic the previous couple of laps before making that stop.
Oh no, maybe. Let me see when he goes through.
So right now, there's a bunch of cars that could do with the caution period, because as of now we have 8 cars on the lead lap.
So Renger van der Zande has yet to make his second stop for that number 10 Wayne Taylor Racing Cadillac. This is the car, remember, who is trying to save a full pit stop. Into the pit lane now. There's the 2 Penskes going through. That must mean the Penskes have gone back through then. Yes, they have. Yeah. So Tingnell still holds his position. But then the two Penske's, and Ollie Jarvis has indeed dropped down to 4th position as in comes the Konica Minolta DPI V Racing Team car in the hands of, who did we put in that? Ring of Enders under. Go ahead, Shit.
Fuel and brand new Michelins. Those ones are stickers and they are still shiny. Zrenger is now dropped off the air jacks. Well, the whole car is, the whole Cadillac. Just waiting for the fuel probe to come out of that car. It should be a very long fuel stop because they are trying to save 29, 30, 31 seconds worth of that car being stationary in the pit box. And for the second time today, Renger van der Zande with the beautiful white burnout.
Those Cadillacs really do great burnouts. If there's a burnout of the day competition, it's between the number 10 and the number 31. They have been outstanding. People's burnout was pretty good. That's something for the future. Burnout competition. Fastest lap of its race for the number 50 Cadillac, Young Ross racing car. Tristan Vautier, I think, behind the wheel of that car. Excuse me, that's the 85 car. Trying to read too many lines of data in front of me. All right, let's have a quick Cadillac in-race update after those pit stops. Now, with all of the top runners except for Colin Brown having completed 2 stops, 55 Mazda still leads by nearly 8 seconds. It's Harry Ticknell on board the dark red car. Then the number 6, Dane Cameron, in 2nd place. That's the Acura team, Penske team, DPI. Its teammate is another 1.5 seconds further back. That's Ricky Taylor in the number 7. And then the second of the Mazdas, Ollie Jarvis, 6.2 seconds away from the second of the Acuras and 15 seconds away from his teammate. Both of the LMP2s are running again, but there's a 2-lap gap between the 52 and the 38. Porsche leads in the shape of Earl Bamber and the 912 in GTLM, courtesy of some excellent early laps after a slightly earlier pit stop for the 912 RSR. Then the 2 BMWs, John Edwards in the 24 and the 25 of Conor De Filippi. Then Richard Westbrook is about another 2 seconds behind. By the way, the gap between first and second, Porsche and BMW, about 10 seconds. Then the second of the Porsches, Nick Tandy, only 2.5 seconds behind Westbrook and gaining, turning some great laps. In GTD, Bill Auburn leads Mario Farnbacher by 13 seconds. 96 blue and yellow Turner BMW from 86 black and pink Acura NSX. Then the bright yellow number 12 Lexus of Townsend Bell is another 8 seconds further back. That's how they stand on our Cadillac in-race update, brought to you with Cadillac V Series, because real racers don't take time off. Shea Adam is down in the pit lane.
With Jonathan Bomarito, who certainly had to work hard to maintain that lead during the first stint. Jonathan, it looked like a lot of fun from being outside of the car. You're coming out with a smile. You think that maybe you can make this 2 weeks in a row?
We're going to try our hardest. Still a lot of racing left. It was a lot of fun. It's an intense track battle out there right now. With the traffic and being hot like this, you have some tire degradation, and man, it's just a lot of work. You'd never get a break this whole lap or, you know, a double stint there. All the drivers and all the class have been doing a great job. I mean, no yellows so far. Everybody's been very respectful from what I can see. But yeah, I'm smiling. I know Harry's going to do a great job here. We just need to keep executing like we are, but so far so good.
Good luck the rest of the way.
Thank you.
So it will be hashtag blame J-Bomb if the yellow comes out now. Jonathan Bomarito talking there with Shea Adam down in the Mazda pits. Live from trackside, the Mobil 1 SportsCar Grand Prix presented by Acura. Did I detect there a certain sense of excitement and enjoyment in J-Bomb's interview?
What happens when you go to a theme park and ride a roller coaster all day, John? You got a smile on your face that you just can't get rid of. And that's exactly what Jonathan Bomarito has gone through, except it's even better. He's the best rider of the roller coaster so far.
Yeah, that's exactly right, like that. Jeremy Shaw and John Hindhaugh in the IMSA broadcast booth, already been a barn burner. Harry Tinknell going through the first corner in clear air, and as soon as he gets clear air, he puts in another fast lap for that car. 1:06.402. That's exactly a tenth away from the fastest lap of the race, currently held by the number 7 Acura of Ricky Taylor. It's amazing what these Mazdas are like in clear air. Their Achilles heel, Jeremy, in the past has been trying to get through traffic. Now, they're still not as good as everyone else in traffic, but my goodness, they're a lot better than they used to be.
Yeah, and that's the little car doesn't have as much torque as some of the other cars out there, and certainly that is a bit of a problem for the drivers to overcome, but they've just got to kind of adapt their styles to cope with that and anticipate a little bit. It makes it harder on them for sure, but I think they've really stepped up the game, the drivers, on that respect, and they've done a really good job today in getting through that traffic. Since the pit stops, the gap between number 55 car and number 6 in second place, it had come down a couple of seconds over the last 3 or 4 laps, but that's not a problem. Harry puts his head down now, gets that clear lap in, and extends that lead out again. It's now about 7 seconds.
And here's a good lap coming in from Ollie Jarvis as well, if he gets a clean run to the line. He had a little bit of traffic having to pass the Porsche number 912 of Earl Bamber, but that's not a slow car either. 177 miles an hour through the speed trap, and a 106.9 for Ollie Jarvis, with an absolute fastest sector in the middle sector of a 30.998 for the second of the Masters in 4th position. I believe, Jeremy, that there has been an evolution of the engine, the 2-litre turbocharged engine that the Mazda uses, and one of the things that they were looking for in the tuning of that engine, now it's not re-engineering of engine parts, it's optimization of settings, and also some new electronics in that car, and one of the things they were looking for was drivability and trying to extract a little bit more torque. Now, there are no substitutes for cubic inches, but they've certainly seemed to have made that car better, because whilst they're never going to have the same sort of torque as the big V8 Cadillacs or even the V6 from Acura, but they certainly seem to be better than they were. They lose less than they used to, and that clearly is a great benefit to the drivers and how they're able to attack the traffic.
It absolutely is, and I think we have seen the benefits of that, and the drivers are now much more comfortable, I think, in those sort of situations. But this race is so intense. We've heard it from the drivers that Shea Adams found down in the pit lane, great interviews there, and you can feel kind of the relief, I think, that they got out of the car and get somebody else have to do all this hard work for a while.
It's so true, Jeremy. It's like I didn't screw up while I was out there. Now it's somebody else's turn to have a go at it. And speaking of cars that have not been having a great day so far, the number 14 Lexus, Aim Vaster Sullivan, it lives once again. I just heard the rumble of the Lexus coming back from behind the wall. That's a steering rack that they've had to fix or replace in a very short amount of time, and the local team wants nothing more than for both cars to finish. Well, now they're hoping that the other one can maybe bring home a win. But Jack Hawkstruth back out from behind the wall. There's a bit of duct tape on the front of this Lexus, a bit of different coloring. They're going to give Jack some fuel and then send him out.
Townsend Bell currently sitting 3rd in GTD. 2nd is Mario Farnbacher, some 10 seconds or so up the road, and Farnbacher is 12 seconds behind Bill Oberlin, who leads. That car has not been headed. The 96 BMW started on pole position. Robbie Foley doing a great first stint in GT Le Mans. Earl Bamber, the Kiwi, went off strategy a little bit. They brought that car in early, got him into some clear air, and the Kiwi delivered with some outstanding laps. All course off the track at turn 1, just as I'm talking about him. Stop listening to the radio, Earl, and concentrate. The tribute livery to the great American road racing team of Brumos on that car since Le Mans. Through goes Colin Brown through turn 3, and Earl picking his way past the Lexus, which is just out of the pits, and getting back up to speed. This is magnificent stuff. Bill Oberlin then in the Turner BMW, that blue and yellow car, circulating with a comfortable lead. He's just pulled out almost 0.6 of a second that last lap. Absolutely glorious day to be motor racing. It'll be hot in the car, but it's not too humid. The drivers train for heat. Humidity over the last few days, well, certainly on Friday and Saturday, it was like walking into a sauna when you walked outside. And although on Friday the actual temperature was hot enough at around about 30, 31 degrees Celsius, the real feel, as they call it, because of the humidity, was closer to 40 degrees Celsius, and that was sticky and horrid. Fortunately, not quite that hot today. Shea, you've been seeing the drivers getting out of the cars. How have they been looking to you today?
Well, when Jonathan Bomarito got out of the Mazda, he was completely drenched from head to toe. Tristan Nunez came over to talk to him, congratulate him, just wanted to know how it felt from his point of view. And as he walked away, Jonathan said to me, man, he looks fresh. I said, Tristan only did a single stint. And he thought, oh, that's good, because I was just thinking I had to start training more.
Phew. Thanks for telling me. Another good lap last time around. 107 flat from the leader. 108.5 from Dane Cameron. Ollie Jarvis, 107.2. 107 flat from Ricky Taylor. That lead 4 just pulling away a little bit now from the pack, which is led by Pipo Durrani. The number 14 car, by the way, back into the pit lane and back behind the wall for Ian Vassar-Sullivan. So we got that car back out with a repair to the steering rack as the leader, Earl Bamber, up in behind the number 9 of Scott Hargrove. That's the GTD version of the Porsche 911. Didn't make the move down the inside at turn 1. That was a veteran move there. Or veteran no move from Earl Bamber. And sometimes that is the case, Jeremy. It's not about knowing when and how to make the move, but sometimes knowing not to make the move. And he didn't want to put his car and his lead in jeopardy there. I thought that was a smart piece of driving from the Kiwi.
And that's really what you've got to do around here. I mean, the Kiwi, Earl Bamber, has extended his lead now. It's almost 10 seconds over the BMW. Of course, the Porsche is running a slightly different strategy. It came in much sooner than the BMW did. It came in on lap 36, whereas or 35, I guess it was, and the BMW came in 11 laps later. So the Porsche number 912 has taken advantage of that to pull out a pretty good lead. I think all of the GTD cars the GTLM cars can get through this race on just 2 pit stops, but by coming in fairly early there, it means that the second stop, they really need it to be all green in order to be able to take advantage of what they're running. But of course, at the final stop, the number 912 car will need a little bit less fuel than the pursuers.
Yeah, good point, Jeremy. Good point. Hello to Andrew Muggeridge, loving the racing from CTMP. Don't know if this has been said before, but he says this circuit has a bit of a Branch Hatch feel about it. I know what you mean. Yeah, particularly with the run out into the country and the foliage both sides. No noise complaints here. Thank goodness.
Well, there probably are, but nobody listens to them.
It's Canada. Everybody wants to help the racetrack because they like it being here. That's why they were laying concrete at 11 o'clock last night. Extraordinary story of how the local community rallied around to make sure that the racetrack was in good working order. Chris Suku just landed. He's been out in Mumbai. He says, I'm watching with the sound down on 1/4, Timlin's scoring on the other. Catch up on the podcast, Chris. Nice to know you're tuned in at IMSA Radio. Around the world in sound and vision too, of course. And in 2 weeks' time, we'll be at Lime Rock Park. And that race is a Saturday, of course. Saturday afternoon race. Check IMSA.com or the IMSA app for all the details. Or if you prefer, go to radiolemans.com and scroll down at the bottom of the front page. The schedule for RS2, which is IMSA Radio 24/7. That will auto-convert to your browser time and show you all of the live coverage from Lime Rock Park in a couple of weekends' time. But fear not, because our mighty schedule of endurance racing continues. It's been such a long time since we had a weekend with nothing happening. Next weekend, on Saturday morning UK time, the next round of the VLN, the Endurance Series, run exclusively on the daunting Nürburgring Nordschleife. That'll be Johnny Palmer and me bringing you all the details, and that's live in sound and vision. No breaks, no blocks, all available to you wherever you are around the world. That will be on RS1 for the audio, and on the website at radio-show.co.uk or radiolemans.com for sound and our English language commentary. Weekend off, pfah, who needs it? Harry Tinknell now, his lead down to 3.2 seconds as he caught a bit of traffic last time around, and A 109.5, that's the slowest lap he has done. However, Ricky Taylor is in the pit lane. Shea Adam in the number 7 Acura.
They were sort of expecting this, John, because the pit crew was up on the wall about 2 laps ago. Fuel and tires for Ricky as they run around to change the left front and the right rear, and then they'll go through and do the other part of the staggered stop. Penske examining the best way to do pit stops and actually affecting some of the way that our series regulars have done their pit stops for many years. They have completed the tire change, car comes off the air jacks, Ricky just waiting. They are showing 20 seconds stationary at this point, so it looks like it will not be a full fuel load for Ricky Taylor. 26 seconds stationary in the box out of a possible 30, so he was pretty close to being out of fuel on that one.
Yeah, around about 27 seconds before he started moving again.
Yeah, and that's going to have to make one more pit stop for the end of this race.
Absolutely,
so it'll be a
agree.
full stop race certainly for the number 7 car. The number 10 is you're trying to stretch it out, as indeed are the Mazdas. I mean, they had great fuel economy on their last stint of the race, 35 laps, and we don't expect to see either of those cars in for quite a while. Of course,
No.
number 7, that was put off strategy by that slow puncture on number 7 car back on lap
Correct.
51, so that came in a good 10 laps earlier than it would otherwise have needed to.
Victor Franzoni putting the fastest lap in for the number 50. That's the Cadillac of Junkos Racing, 106.9. Well done. Great stuff from that driver. It's his first time that he's been here. And
Yeah, that's quicker than Joao Barbosa in the number or that car, number 5 car. It's only 3/10 or so away from the best number 31 car has turned out, which is always
that's a
generally
very good
that's
lap
a very
by
good lap. Yeah,
Franzoni.
indeed.
He's
And
got a future in this, hasn't he?
Yeah, no, I mean all the Cadillacs they're pretty close on lap times, between 106.5 and 106.8 or 9. So that's really good. The fastest lap of the race at 106.3. So there isn't really that much to choose between any of them in terms of lap time.
So Jeremy, coming down to the last hour, and we'll start another round of GT Le Mans pit stops relatively shortly, and it'll be interesting for me. What I'm waiting for to answer some questions is when we see those first pit stops, those second pit stops rather. Earl Bamber pitted on lap 36. He's now on lap 74. So he's getting close. But with an hour and 5 minutes to go, he needs to get another couple or 3 laps in, I reckon, to say that he can get to the end. Just about an hour's worth of running, we think, from a GT Le Mans car. He goes off. Almost throws it away at turn 5. Right on the ragged edge there, as he drifted right across the curbs in the middle of 5A and B. Didn't get anywhere near the apex on the second of the right-handers. So I wonder if his tyres are beginning to cry enough. Again, has to push hard towards the end of the stint. We're seeing some faster laps coming in now. Colin Brown, 106.8 for Colin. That's the fastest lap of the race. Now,
For that car, yep.
Ollie Gavin was we would kind of expect to see the 4 car coming in first of the GT Le Mans cars, but that car's had radio problems, so that might be difficult in getting the tall Englishman into the pit lane. He'll be watching his dials. Shea's just said ever the optimist. Oh, think how peaceful it'll be. That reminds me of Chicken Run and solitary confinement. I always like a bit of time to myself. I like your optimism, Shea. Thank you. That's really tickled me, that one. Fastest lap of the 52 cars race goes to Matt McMurray. 109.4 leads the P2 category by a couple of laps there now after the problems for Cameron Castles in the number 38 Orica. Just coming on to 2:45 in the afternoon here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. It's the Mobil 1 SportsCar Grand Prix, presented by Acura, IMSA, TV and radio, together with Jeremy Shaw, Shea Adam and me, John Hindorf, wherever you are here at the track on 90.7 FM, XM Sirius, or further afield, watching or listening this so far has been intriguing, exciting, and you can't take your eyes off this for a moment. For the next set of pit stops start, let's have a quick Cadillac in race update. Mazda leads Harry Tincknell by just on 4 seconds from the number 6 of Dane Cameron. Then 3 seconds further back, Ollie Jarvis in the 77, the second of the Mazda RT24Ps. GT Le Mans Porsche, Earl Bamber by 10.5 seconds, but due to pit sometime soon, we would think. But he'll try to get somewhere near or indeed under the hour to go mark. The two BMWs, 24 and 25, 10 seconds and 17 seconds away from the leader, with John Edwards and Conor De Filippi behind the wheel. GTD, the top three, Bill Oberlin, Mario Farnbacher, Townsend Bell, just 8 seconds between Townsend Bell and Mario Farnbacher, but Bill Oberlin had pulled out something like 12, 13 seconds the last time I looked in the 96 BMW. It's now 15.5 seconds between Oberlin and the 96 M6 and the 86 Acura.
Yeah, he's really stretched that out, hasn't he?
He really has. That's your Cadillac in-race update with Cadillac V-Series, because real races don't take time off. It's Peter Cracker, Jeremy, and our Porsche keys to the race. We said it's a 2 hour, 40-minute sprint race, but so far there has been quite a lot of patience shown and a lot of respect between the different classes. 1 or 2 bits of trading of paint, but nothing that's required the intervention of the safety car. And there's still the 2 big questions, fuel and tyres, and we're getting into those last decisions to be made now by the strategic minds, let's try and get that out, on the pit box, as well as by the drivers feeding back the information. But getting into last stop strategy, certainly now, last pit stop area, certainly for the GTDs and the GT Le Mans cars.
Indeed we are. Just looking at the battle for the lead up front, the gap between number 55 and number 6 is sort of oscillated between 5 and sort of a bit, well, it was under 2 seconds actually about 6 laps ago. It's now back out to 5 again. The gap from second to third, though, that is definitely sneaking down. Just 3 seconds between number 6 and number 77, and the best of the Cadillacs, number 31 car, kind of back to what we were pre-Watkins Glen. It was number 10 car that had a great run at the Glen, but here number 31 car is a full almost 20 seconds behind that top trio.
Yeah, and 30 seconds near enough, 28 seconds away from the leader, Jeremy, and what has been a full green race. Right, we've got some pit callers this time around, as seemingly half the field has just gone past our window, and right in there is the number 6 Acura, which I think Adam has peeled in the pit lane. It has. Dane Cameron is the first of the DPIs in the leading group to come into the pit lane.
Correct, following in the sister car, the number 7, a few laps ago, but that was because that car had to go off strategy due to a slow puncture in the left rear. The number 6, though, not showing any signs of coming in off strategy. Dane Cameron brings the car in. They are doing 4 tires change. Those are scrubbed. The number 6 Acura, waiting on the fuel and doing the left rear tire in the right front. The last tire to go on is the left rear. That one is stop. The car drops down off the air jacks. Windshield tear off for Dane Cameron. Just waiting on the fuel. Perfect pit stop if that's the last thing to go. Dane revs the engine and is released. Best pit box in the pit lane. There's nobody in front of you, and all he has to do is go through the RFID readers.
But that's only 25 laps that's in for number 6 car. Its previous to it was 32 laps before coming onto the pit lane. So that's interesting. It's still going to make another pit stop before the end of this race with 59 minutes remaining. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. I think I don't expect to see either of the Mazdas, as one of them has to creep right up against the pit wall to get past number 38, the second place car in LMP2. That cost him a huge amount of momentum as he went across the line. I wondered 11.2 it was for the leader that time around.
Coming in now, so they must be thinking, Jeremy, that they can make it from here. Shane Adam with a gaggle of GT cars.
Fuel and tires for Conor De Filippi. Those are brand new Michelins going on that car. Townsend Bell also getting new Michelins and 36 seconds worth of fuel. The number 12 Lexus. Joey Hand brought in the number 66 Ford GT. He is staying aboard that car. Fuel and tires there. And Patrick Long, the 73 Park Place Porsche, the Patmobile, he goes out on 4 new tires as Oliver Gavin somehow got the call, and he is into the pit lane. Let's see if they do anything to deal with the radio issue. Also in is Bill Oberlin out of the lead of GTD. The 633 Scuderia Course Ferrari was also in. That was fuel and tires only. Bill Oberlin staying aboard. Super Mario has brought the number 86 in from second place on the track. That might be Dirk Miller's helmet, actually, now that I see it behind the wheel of the 66. Fuel and tires for the Acura, the number 86 Super Mario staying aboard. They did not try to fix the radio for Oliver Gavin, so he must have figured out some way to listen to the crew. They did not signal him as for when to come in. Oberlin is back out and rolling on the fast lane of the pits. Let's see, Oliver Gavin just waiting on the field probe to come out. There we go.
Ah, is there a better sound up and down at any pit lane in the world than a V8 Chevy Corvette disappearing from the pit lane? Well, that tells me, Jeremy, with just under an hour to go, call it 57 minutes now, that all of those GT Daytona cars think they can go to the end from there, and presumably the GT Le Mans cars do as well, because there was a few of those cars that could have gone deeper into the race. We've not had a safety car yet. We're running full green. So always a good thing to get your last pit stop done first, if that makes sense.
It does, because if there is a full course caution, then the pits will be closed, and the drivers, if they can remain on the lead lap, and any of the GT LM cars could, then the pits would be closed, and so the drivers that already made their pit stops would be able to move through to the head of the queue after everybody else has come in for service.
911 Porsche has been in and gone. That was Nick Tandy, fuel and tires, and it is fuel and new tires for Earl Bamber as well. He's staying aboard, and this pit stop should be close to 30 seconds worth of fuel, just waiting on the tire change to complete on the right side of that Porsche, which came in from the lead. Also following him in, the number 67 Ford GT, Richard Westbrook, bringing that car in. There was a number 3 on the side of the car, but there is a lot of debris on the front of that car. You can tell that these guys out there are pushing really hard, and the track is quite dirty. They have already completed the left side tire change on the Ford GT. That's the sound of the Porsche flat 6 engine being revved within an inch of its life. Earl Bamber goes, and down goes the pit board for the number 3 Corvette. So into the pit lane, the King of Spain, Antonio Garcia, brings that beautiful yellow machine in with the number 4 on the side of the door. Rick Westbrook puts the Ford back into gear, and he leaves. So both Bamber and Westbrook got out well ahead of Garcia. And I'm also starting to see a pit board wave for the number 31 Whelen Engineering Cadillac. So we're going to get some more prototype pit stops here soon. Pit stop going perfectly for Corvette. They do the final tire change. Car comes off the air jacks now, and just waiting on fuel as the purple illuminated system on the side of the car that tells me how long they've been stationary is not functioning. The number 4 BMW is also into the pit lane. This is the car that set the pole time with Jesse Krohn. John Edwards has provided fuel and tires for John Edwards. That's the sign of Antonio Garcia leaving the pit lane, and that's the sound of Pipo Derani coming in. Fuel and new tires for Pipo Derani, by the way.
Not sure that that 31 car with 55 minutes to go can go to the end from here.
Oh yeah, it can. No, you need one more stop. Yeah.
But
yeah, no, I mean the Cadillac's
35 minutes. Though they're going to be 20 minutes short, aren't they? But
right.
That'll be a short stop at the end.
No, this is exactly what they'd expected coming into this race. The Mazdas, though, they can stay out. They could stay out for another 10 laps or so, and conceivably could get to the end.
Stop. That they might be able to do it on one more stop if they can do 10 more laps.
It'll be marginal.
Tight. Yeah, it's going to be tight, but that's never second guess the Gade. Race engineers there, Lena Gade and Larry Holt.
Yeah, Larry's not here this weekend. I believe he's at Goodwood.
He's at Goodwood,
actually,
yeah, that's right.
For the launch of the Ford Mark II.
I'm sure he's projecting his.
Yes, indeed.
You don't think he's got all that hair without being able to project his thoughts, do you? He's here in spirit.
He certainly is. Yeah, he won't like to miss this race. It's a home race for Multimatic, of course, based over in Markham, Ontario. So this will be the race he didn't want to miss, but that launch of that Ford Mark II is a pretty exciting time. Here's number 5 car onto the pit lane now, also for its scheduled service. 91 laps completed, 53 minutes remaining.
And again, that car will have to make another stop with around about 20 minutes to go. Fast and furious into turn number 9, and there was a little touch between the number 77 and the 38 of the LMP2's Cameron Castle's car. as he was trying to muscle his way through. No harm, no foul. I don't think. Have to keep a look at the bodywork on the right-hand side of the second-place Mazda. 11 seconds is the gap between first and second. Harry Tinkin and Ollie Jarvis, as they finished a week ago. Meantime, Shea's had an unexpected occurrence in the pit lane.
Yeah, was not expecting to see another driver change for the number 5 Mustang sampling Cadillac. Fuel tires, and Philippe Albuquerque put back behind the wheel of that one.
Yeah, no, that
Does that sort of work for you? Okay.
It's physical around here.
True.
And they've got to make 4 stops, so you might as well make 2 driver changes.
True. So, yeah, good point.
It's physically and, as we've already said earlier on, mentally demanding around here.
Intense.
So to take some sort of a breather is a really good plan.
So the 2 Mazdas yet to make their 3rd stop. How close to the end of this race can they get? Are they in 1 more stop territory? They're not far away from it at the moment. They need to do probably another 7 or 8 laps from here. Lap number 93 just completed for Harry Tincknell. If he can get somewhere near lap 100, I reckon he'll be able to go to the end from there.
That's what I'm saying. I think that's the last came in on lap 65, and they did a 55 car came in on lap 31 to 65, so that was 34 laps. Number 75 car had been in a lap sooner, so that did a 35 lap last stint. That would take them to lap 100.
So 55 crew beginning to get on the wall. They normally do that 2 or 3 laps at the very least before they're expecting the car in, but it needs to be a bit more than that if it's not going to be a very, very scary splash and go at the end of the race. If they can do it, that's going to be an extraordinary advantage they will have had. Renger van der Zande, by the way, the only other contender. Colin Brown's only done 2 stops, but Colin must be due in shortly as well. We heard, didn't we, that the number 10 car from Jordan Taylor were trying to make it on 1 fewer stops than everyone else. Now, they haven't had the pace of the cars ahead, but if they've only got 1 more stop to do, they might be able to get further up the field, maybe challenge for 5th or 4th position. They're in 6th at the moment. Colin Brown absolutely flying, as is Ricky Taylor, who's just done the fastest lap of the race. 106.2, Jeremy, in race trim. 106.291 for Ricky Taylor and the Acura Team Penske number 7, 4th position car.
Yeah, that's pretty good going. I mean, and Dane Cameron's just said his best lap of the race, 106.4 in the sister car. Both of those 2 cars, number 6 car was in the pits only 6-7 laps ago. Number 7 car, though, it's been a while. That was like 79. We've done 15 laps since that car was last in. So to be setting lap times like that at this stage is very impressive. But they're a long way back. I mean, they got good pace early on, but I think. I thought that they kind of lost pace as the race went along, but apparently not. So 95 laps completed by Harry Tincknell in the lead car. 107.6 last time around, and that gap from between the 2 Mazdas, it's gone out by about 5 seconds over the course of the last 10 laps.
Antonio Garcia's Corvette number 3's come to life. A 1:15.1 last time around, the best lap for that car. And the fastest GTLM car except for Nick Tandy. But I think you'll take that because it's Nick Tandy. Nick Tandy in the 911. Now up to 3rd position, by the way. Here's how it stands in GT Le Mans. Earl Bamber by 11 seconds. The 912 leads the 24 BMW of John Edwards. Then at 6.4 seconds back to the charging Nick Tandy in the 911 Porsche. And we've got a car off, and it is the 38. Oh, dear me. What a tough day they've had. Cameron Castles is off at turn 5.
And the race leader is in the pits.
Race leader in the pits immediately. We'll keep an eye on what's going on with that. Oh, the door's open. The door is open on the Cameron Castles car. So the leader, Shea Adam, has come into the pit lane, presumably expecting a full course yellow.
Both of the Mazdas into the pit lane, and the 55 drinks bottle change for Harry Tincknell, but he stays aboard. They do 4 brand new Michelin tires on this machine. Also in is the number 77 Mazda. That too is just a drinks bottle for Harry Tinknell, for Oliver Jarvis, but it looks like he has some scrub rubber going onto that number 77. I wouldn't expect it to be scrub rubber. I think it would be new. There was a slight issue on the right rear wheel change for the number 55 Mazda. They had to put the car back up on the air jacks. It's beaten out by its sister car. Oliver Jarvis goes ahead of the set 55 in the pit lane, and it is still here as the left rear is now an issue for this Mazda. They're dropping it off the air jacks. The number 6, Acura Penske, also into the pit lane, and the number 7. So everybody reacting, thinking that this will be a full course caution. I can see the number 7 stop. They are doing fuel and tires for Ricky Taylor, not even offering him a drinks bottle.
Man, this is going to be close to being able to go to the end from here. 47 minutes, but behind the safety car we expect shortly. It has not yet been called. Race control have not yet called it. Pits are closed, and now the yellow flag comes out as the number 7 leaves. Who else got into the pits? Nobody. 31, I think, just got into the pit lane in time. Pete Motorani,
yeah.
yes, he did.
But the number 10 car elected not to come in now. With all the other leaders in, it had been a lap down, so it kind of needs to wave around to get back on the lead lap.
Yeah, correct. I saw an Acura in there as well. I think that was the 14 though, which has been back behind the wall and back out again a couple of times now. And the 38 has come to a stop on the exit of the complex at turn 5. He's going to need some help to get out. So Jeremy, we've had 2 hours, all bar 4 minutes before we hit our first full course yellow. And what a couple of hours that has been here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, Mobil 1 SportsCar Grand Prix. But advantage still very much with Mazda at the moment. Side-by-side action before the yellow came out. And was there a touch there? There was. That was the Mustang sampling Philippe Albuquerque going side-by-side with the third place Acura.
Yeah, there was a lap between those cars at that stage. Number 5 car was a lap down, having made a pit stop just a few laps ago.
Well, I tell you what, before it all goes mad again, because I think the Mazdas have held on to the lead there.
Yeah. They changed position. I mean, they came in 12 seconds apart. Yeah. But the number 55 car. The good news is, well, the bad news is that the poor stopped. The good news is they remained ahead of everybody else because they had a huge advantage over the rest of the field. At that stage, there were only 2 other cars on the lead lap, and 2 Acuras, because everybody else had already made a pit stop except for number 10, which is due and will make one once it gets the wave around.
And Jeremy, there's our Porsche keys to the race. You know, having a long fuel window opens up the strategy.
Yeah.
And that has played in. Okay, you never know when a safety car is going to come out or whether it isn't, but that has played into their hands there. They've taken the advantage. Right, we'll get the pass around going, so anyone who has been passed by the leader but not by their leader in class will be allowed to go by. And here's how they stand at the moment. In GT Daytona, with most of the cars having made what I think will be their final stop, certainly the top runners. 96 BMW, Bill Oberlin leads. Farnbacher in the Acura, the black and pink car, the 86, from the bright yellow Lexus number 12 of Townsend Bell. Lawson Aschenbach is still on the lead lap. He'll be getting waved around. Now, he has only made 1 stop in the Lone Star Mercedes. And we've got the Oreca running again, but with damage to the left front. So it wasn't just a pull off from that car. There had been some contact with the wall. So that's good news for Cameron Castles. Also means we'll have a pretty quick yellow as well. So where was I in GTD? Lawson Aschenbach, I said, was in 4th. 5th.
Yeah, and that car, that Lone Star car, has only made 1 pit stop in this. Sorry, excuse me.
Absolutely. So they've got 1 pit stop to make. In GTLM, Earl Bamber for John Edwards from Tandy. So that's 912 Porsche from 24 BMW from 911 Porsche from 25 BMW from 67 Ford from 66 Ford from 3 Corvette from 4 Corvette. Of course, they'll all pack up now as well. So all that big gap, that minute gap or 30-second gap that there was from front to back, that will disappear. From 4th on down, they are back in the pit, including Shea Adam there's a second visit in consecutive laps for the Acura number 7.
5 seconds worth of fuel, John, so that he can run full rich. They are going to set Ricky Taylor to stun and put him out. Also in were the numbers 5 and 31 Action Express Racing Cadillacs, the Konica Minolta Cadillac of Wayne Taylor Racing, the number 10, the Core Autosport Nissan, and we've got a pit caller who's come in out of line. That would be the number 74 Mercedes, Gar Robinson and Lawson Oshbach. Lawson right now dropping the car. That was emergency service. They came in when they were not supposed to, so that would have been 5 seconds of fuel and back out for Lawson, but he's going to have to come back in the next time that the pits are open for his class.
Yeah, that is the car that we were talking about. They'd only done one stop. They'd done an extraordinary run to that point. Just got caught. Now, when Shea says emergency service, clearly it makes no sense at all with the pits closed for your category to run someone out of fuel on the circuit. So emergency service is allowed by IMSA. You come in, you can have 5 seconds of fuel and you can have anything fixed that needs to be fixed. For example, if you had a puncture or a wheel coming loose or something like that, you could fix that. But that's all you can do. And then you've got to come back in when the pits are open for your class, and that's what will have to happen with Lawson Aschenbach. So not a great stop for the Mazda number 55. The car was dropped before the rear tyre change was done on that car, but and they had to go back up again.
And then complete the refueling. They hadn't completed the refueling thing, had they?
The refueling was still going in, but there was something not right with that pit stop, certainly.
Yeah.
I don't think either of the rear tyres had been bolted onto that car. Phew. So, live from trackside around the world with no blocks or brakes on IMSA Radio. Hello to you if you're listening on XM Sirius. And I don't think any of the GT Le Mans cars need to come in. So the restart will be Mazda Ollie Jarvis from Harry Tinknell from Dane Cameron. And then when we reset the field with the DPI cars at the front, which is why it's worth taking the pit stop if you're the first car that can get in and back out again. Ricky Taylor should be next. Then it's Pipo Derani. Then it's Philippe Albuquerque. Cadillacs both, of course. Prinker van der Zande right in there as well. And they will all be at the front of the field. That'll all close up. So the Mazdas will be under pressure. And don't forget, Ricky Taylor got 5 seconds of fuel to leave. No doubt that he was going to be good to go to the end on fuel mileage. There'll be no fuel saving from the number 7 Acura. So fireworks here. Shea Adam normally stands on the pit island, on the outside pit wall for the restarts. I've just seen you walk across the pit lane.
Yeah, I'm going to go hide now. I don't want to get hit with any bits of rubber or carbon shards or any car debris. So yeah, I'm gonna hide over by the pit wall.
Okay. Got a bit of track sweeping going on as well offline.
Yeah.
That's a good idea as well, with still 40 minutes to go.
Yeah.
And we'll be going green shortly.
Yeah, and this is certainly going to help the prototypes with their hopes of getting to the finish without making another pit stop as well. Plus, it's going to make the track more racy with the amount of marbles that are thrown off these tyres. The little bits of rubber just get thrown off and deposited directly off the racing line. That means if you run offline here with the hot tyres, they pick up all those little rubber marbles, and it sounds horrible when you're in the car because the rubber's sort of thrown around underneath the wheel arches, and particularly with the track breakup problems we've had the last couple of days. Touch wood, we don't seem to have anything now, but from the drive line, it almost sounds like asphalt being thrown around inside there, which of course would be even worse. So I think this is certainly going to make the track a lot more raceable, because you did get offline, you'd pick up those marbles, it would sound horrible. Plus, when you get to the next corner, you're really not quite sure how much grip you're going to have.
Jeremy Shaw that was. Shea Adam in the pit lane. I'm John Hindhaugh, IMSA TV and Radio. One more lap at least behind the GT500 Mustang, which sounds absolutely fantastic.
So we're now
into the pit lane there, Stephen Simpson. And now he is not on the lead lap.
Right.
And also Matt McMurray coming in with the leading LMP2 car, but now with a now with a 7 lap lead. after the problems for the 38.
Yeah.
Already had one engine problem and then contact with the wall in turn 5, which brought out this full course yellow and the very pretty blue Roush 500.
So we now have 8 cars back on the lead lap, including the pole sitting car of Colin Brown. So it's going to be interesting to see whether he can possibly work his way through. That car is certainly fast, we know that. And the Core Autosport team employed exactly the same strategy last year. Colin Brown qualified the car on the pole position. They started at the back and he came through to win the race. Can he do that again? That would be pretty impressive. He's going to take the restart in 8th position.
So ahead of him, he has in 7th the number 10 Cadillac of Renger van der Zande, a difficult man to pass.
Yeah, and
in
this
6th, the number 5 Cadillac, Philippe Albuquerque, see above comment. In 5th position, the 31 red and white wheeling Cadillac of Pipo Derani, nigh on impossible to pass. Ricky Taylor is in 4th in the Acura DPI, and on fresh tyres, Dane Cameron is in 3rd, teammate to Ricky Taylor, and then the 2 Mazda DPIs.
Yes.
So that, if he doesn't from there, I doffeth my cap. Verily.
Yeah, no kidding. In GTLM though, all 8 cars there still on the lead lap. It's that Porsche though, they got an advantage by making the early pit stop. Retain that lead now ahead of number 24 BMW, but John Edwards is going to be on the charge here at the restart. The second of the Porsches in 3rd position, Nick Tandy. Then the number 25 BMW, then the 2 Ford GTs, and then still at the back, as they were after qualifying, the 2 Chevrolets. In
Watch Tonio Garcia. He has the innate ability at the end of the race to have a car that's exactly the way he wants it.
Yep.
We've seen it happen so many times. Just before that yellow flag came out, he put in the fastest lap.
Yeah, and the GTD,
race.
just very quickly before we go back to green now, 11 cars on the lead lap, led now by the BMW Bill Oberlin, whose lead of 11 seconds, or more than that, I think it was, cut to nothing.
36 minutes of racing to go, the green flag in the air. Great restart by the leader, Ollie Jarvis, but his teammate Harry Tingle under intense pressure from Dane Cameron. Not such a good start from Ricky Taylor, who's got the best tyres of the leading group of cars. He came in and got a splash of fuel as well, so he should have the ability to go full rich to the end of the race.
No, not from here. It's still 35 minutes remaining. There's still going to be some fuel save required here. Yeah, absolutely, for the prototypes, no question. They've already done 5 laps under caution. Well, 3 laps for the cars that came back onto the pit lane, 5 for the other 4, which the other 3, excuse me, being the 2 Mazdas and the number 6 Acura.
Penalty for the Lone Star Mercedes AMG GT3. They did not come back in again to fulfill their emergency service requirements. They'll be brought in for a stop plus 10 seconds or a drive into the pit lane and then a 10-second hold. Mazda, Acura, Cadillac, Nissan. 3 Cadillacs. That's your top 11. And they're separated by, well, the cars on the lead lap, the top 8 are separated by 4.5 seconds. In GT Le Mans, great battle with the Porsche right in there, but the 2 BMWs, Tandy's been mugged on the restart. You don't hear that very often, but he's just squeezed through at turn 1, back into 3rd position, ahead of 1 of the BMWs. So Porsche, BMW, 912, 24, 25, 912, 24, 911, 25, and the 2 Ford GTs right in there as well. Also in that line of GT cars, the BMW of Bill Oberlin, who's forgotten what class he's in again. He's battling with the GT Le Mans cars. He's leading GTD at the moment by just under a second.
And looking for his 59th all-time victory in top-line American sports car racing, which would take him 1 adrift of Scott Pruitt.
Well, as they used to say on a well-known sci-fi programme in the UK, back when I was going, anything can happen in the next half hour, and probably will.
Well, Colin Brown has made up 1 position. He's snuck past Renger van der Zande on that last lap, so he's now up into 7th place in car number 54.
The reason that Nick Tandy lost the position was that he went side by side, and then pushing the BMW in second place of John Edwards. And that's what lost him the position. Then he got sideswiped by the other BMW, and there's damage to the back of John Edwards' BMW. So Tandy dropped down to fourth for a moment, then got back to third. Pits are closed. We're going back to full course yellow. What's happening here? Yellows breed yellows. Oh, somebody's hit the wall hard at the bottom of turn 2. Now, is there a car buried in that tyre stack, or has it gone in and went out? If it's in there, it's in an awful long way. There's big marks down to that. That's a very worrying sign as we get one of the safety vehicles down there. And I have no clue what car that is in there, if indeed there is a car in there.
No, I'm not speculating either.
Is it the Junkos Cadillac?
No, I think it's impossible to say. I think it might be, but it's
buried amongst the tyres at the bottom of turn 2. Very, very fast part of the circuit. And it is a Cadillac.
Yeah.
Tell by the wheels.
Yeah,
now that I can see a wheel, it's
car.
the 50 car. It is the Junkos Cadillac.
Yeah.
Franzoni was driving it, and it looks to have partially rolled that car. The emergency service there, but almost impossible to get to it because the tyre bundles are all the way around it. And that has been a significant impact down at the bottom of turn 2. It's the green mirrors that I saw in that car, and that was about all I could see. Now, worrying moments for everybody here, but we've already got the KN, the AMR KN down there, and other vehicles coming in as well. And this is not going to be a short yellow here, because just getting that car out is not the work of a moment. So the run to the line has been interrupted for a moment. Looks like the car went straight on. There were black tyre marks leading to the scene of the accident. On the first flying lap, the tyre stack has done its job to stop the car hitting the wall, or in fact going out of the racetrack area down there and into the wooded area, but it's kind of all enveloped the Cadillac, the Junkos Cadillac.
Yeah, I mean, the cars there, they're doing around about 150 miles an hour.
Yeah. And you don't have to be far offline there to go off the road. And if there's any kind of failure at that point, if you've had side-by-side contact, Jeremy, and you break a steering arm or something like that, then you're heading directly to the scene of the accident very quickly indeed. So Ollie Jarvis with 104 laps in the bag. Now, we'll give you the news as soon as we have it about the incident, but let's concentrate on what we can tell you, and that is that this yellow flag is playing into the hands of anybody who had fuel worries.
Yeah, which is all of the prototypes.
Yeah.
even the guys who came in for the splash during that caution period, which is number 10, 7, 54, 5 and 31, even they were going to be struggling to get to the end of this race without making another stop if it had been green all the way, which now isn't. And as you say, this is going to be a lengthy cleanup, so this should, I think, most likely alleviate anybody's concerns.
We'll leave the Junkos team alone for the time being. This is not the time to speak to them, obviously. Share Adam down there, rightly just giving them some space at the moment. Been a great run by Franzoni.
Yeah, the car lost some time early on. He certainly turned some very, very competitive lap times, had the Brazilian, but and significantly quicker than both of the JDC Miller Motorsport entries, interestingly. The best laps they've done are in the sevens, mid-sevens. Victor Franzoni turned a 6.9 in that number 50 car, and that's pretty much on a par with the Action Express and Konica Minolta teams as well. Considering how little time he's had at the wheel of this prototype. I mean, he drove the car in Detroit, hadn't driven it at all previously, and he's driven it here. He'd never been here before. Minimal track time. Just he's got up to speed in that car so quickly.
Coming down to 28 minutes. A reminder then, Mazda's first and second, Acura's third and fourth, then 2 Cadillacs. Then a hard-charging Colin Brown, only one to have made up a position, I think, in that short time when we had the green flag running.
Yep.
In GT Le Mans, it's still Earl Bamber from John Edwards with Nick Tandy down to fourth at one stage and then back up to third, traded with both of the BMWs.
Yeah, and the fact that the track was cleaned off there during that previous caution period, certainly that'll help Colin Brown's hopes, because the Nissan is fabulously fast in a straight line. It handles beautifully on the Mario Andretti straightaway, and that is where his best opportunity is to make passes on these other prototypes. But previously, that track would have been pretty dirty up there. But with the blowers going through there during that caution period, that should have cleaned off that track, and it should leave the track in good shape for the final stages of this race.
3:20 in the afternoon, local time here. That's 8:20 in the UK. Hello to Mike Perrin, who is apologising for being late on parade. We've got a note, Mike. Could be an interesting dash for the end. It's been a cracking race so far, with the story of the race, the first 15 minutes until a Mazda hit the front of the field, and it was the 55 car that, in our Porsche Keys to Race, we said fuel, tyres, sprint race mentality, but also a bit of patience required. Took them 15 minutes to get the front. Ben Keating lost a bit of time early on with the spin in the 33 Riley Motorsports AMG. The battles have been between the 2 Japanese brands at the front of the field. The Mazda very quick in a straight line. Not so shoddy round the corners as well, and particularly in clear air. And they did get to positions 1 and 2 for a little while. Mazda 55 pressing its advantage on the Acuras, having a problem later on in the pit stop. The 74 Lone Star car coming into contact with the Juncos Cadillac at the middle of turn 2. And then an extraordinary thing coming into the pit lane when high stand in the 14 Lexus hit the back of Patrick Lindsay's 73 car.
Yeah, it came from miles behind.
He did, yes. Penalty called on the number 9 Porsche.
No,
on the
it was, wasn't it? You're right.
On the outlap, having just lost it, and the rejoin was deemed not to be fair, and then that 14 car went behind the wall.
Yeah, that was unfortunate. The number 9 car, by the way, it's got itself back into contention, back in the top 6 in the GTD class. We see again some more replays here, some contact there with the number 77 car that's leading. It came into contact with number 38 of the Performance Tech car. That's the car that caused the earlier caution period. It's been in the wars this afternoon, that Performance Tech Orica Gibson. It's now is it back in the front? It is actually back out again.
It is, yeah.
Performance Tech teams, boy, they never give up, do they?
Refuse to go anywhere. Yeah, let's keep that going.
But yeah, good, really good job by Pfaff Motorsports team, another local team, of course, in that number 9, the plaid Porsche, got it back up to sixth position, and all of the cars that are running in GTD are on the lead lap, so they're all, ostensibly in contention.
Still waiting for news of the incident at the bottom of turn 2. Nothing official yet, so we'll wait for that. The race hasn't been red flagged, so they must feel they will be able to get back to green flag in a reasonably sensible amount of time. If it was going to take a longer time, they would have red flagged this race. We've got some time afterwards in terms of track time. Could have red flagged it and frozen the clock.
Yeah, but the TV window is probably mitigating against that.
Which TV window would that be, Jeremy?
Well, yeah, very good point, of course.
Depends which window. Is it through the square window this weekend or the round one? 23.5 minutes to go. Still the BMW of Bill Oberlin leading in GTD from Acura, Lexus, Porsche. Well, the update from down at the scene of the accident is that the Junkos Cadillac is still very much buried in the tyres. The medical vehicles that I saw going down there aren't at the scene. But it's clearly proving very difficult to get that car off its side and out of those tyre bales. GT Le Mans, Earl Bamber for Porsche ahead of John Edwards from BMW, then Tandy in the second of the Porsches with a little bit of BMW's white paint on both sides of that car actually in the lap or so that we had of racing. Matt McMurray leads LMP2 in 11th position overall, and at the front it's Mazda, Acura, Cadillac, Nissan, Cadillac for your top 10. Top 8 of those all still on the lead lap. Mobil 1 SportsCar Grand Prix, Bowmanville, Ontario, presented by Acura. And got a couple more rescue vehicles going round there, including a flatbed just passing us now. And another wrecker truck. I think they're going to try and pull that car out and over and get it out of the tyres. Then we'll have to reset the tyres. We're going to probably have about, with any luck, maybe 10 or 12 minutes to go at the end of this, but that will be all. So no fuel worries for any of the teams at the front. It will be a dash for the top places. Remember, at the checkered flag ends the race, but it's just the start of the conversation. Let's have your questions, points arising, observations, please, for the Michelin post-race tech show at IMSA Radio, and please use the hashtag Michelin PRT. Michelin PRT. Jeremy, Shane, myself will do our best to answer the questions.
100 laps just completed by the GTLM contenders, by the way. 108 laps by the overall race leaders.
Yeah, 97 for the GTD, so they're all going to be into three figures for this. I don't know if we've got a record distance for this race, but I would have thought we were charging towards it until this incident. We've got a lifting vehicle down there to try and get the Junkos car out, and they've got to it. That's the good news. The car's got, as you might imagine, quite a bit of damage on the left-hand side where it's rolled in. What happened was coming down the hill, he went inside and hit the bump, and then unabated speed, left-hand side first, into the tyre wall, and then it's flipped over. The good news is Franzoni's out of the car. He's been attended to by the medics and the intervention vehicle staff from the IMSA AMR safety vehicles. He looks a bit shaken, but he was sitting upright and talking to the medics, so that's the best news.
Yeah.
The Cadillac, well, it's got a few scratches on it, some of which won't polish out. But the car has now been dropped back on its wheels, and we'll be able to get it out of there. He's about a car's width into the tyres. If he'd been a car's width to the right, he'd have hit a concrete wall there.
Well, yeah, he's kind of going the wall is sort of parallel to the track at that stage. But you know, it's certainly great that they've added all that runoff area in whenever that was,
and all those tyres as well.
And yeah, first of all, extend the runoff area, and then two paved it as well. That was, I can't remember how long.
Scrubbed off a lot of speed going sideways with his foot on the brake. Did exactly the right thing. The awful thing for Victor Franzoni there would have been, he knew that bump was coming a long way out, and he's just waiting for the quick stop. Hands off everything. Keep your foot on the middle pedal. Brace yourself for impact. Yeah,
that would not have been a lot of fun at all.
No, not at all. Car stood up really well, actually, Jeremy. very well indeed.
Yeah.
These
you were asking about
DPIs
record distances.
Yeah.
I don't know what the record. I don't know what the record distance is, but we did 125 laps, 122 laps. I think it's 125 laps in 2016. Was the most in the last 3 or 4 years, anyhow.
Let's go down to Shea Adam. We're still a little way away from getting this one back under green flag racing. The good news is that the driver of the number 50 Juncos Racing car, Victor Franzoni, the Brazilian, has been extricated for the car. He was sitting up and talking to the medics. He's been taken to the medical centre. That's standard operational practice. In the meantime, we'll pick up some interviews from Shea Adam down in the pit lane.
With Lawrence Vantour. Lawrence, your car once again leading as this race is dwindling, but how hard is Earl going to have to fight to keep that BMW of John Edwards behind him?
Well, I don't know if it was on TV, but the biggest threat we had so far was an old BMW driver in a GTD car trying to help his mates behind us, which was fairly reasonably unfair. And but yeah, anyway, we're leading and it looks good. We have good pace. We did a good call on strategy. And yeah, if you want to have one guy in the car at the end of the race to battle it out, it would be Earl. So I fully trust what he will do.
He swapped back to his traditional yellow helmet this weekend, got rid of the Brumo special livery that he ran at Le Mans last weekend. Are you guys superstitious too?
Well, I only saw on the in-car camera, and I thought the same thing. So I guess if we'll win today, he'll stop wearing the Brumo helmet, I think.
Well, great call from the pit lane to bring Earl in early. We are going to a red flag, though, so unfortunately we're going to have to wait a little bit longer for perhaps the celebration again for the 912. Good luck the rest of the way.
Thank you very much.
Shea Adam down in the pit lane. Yeah, red flag. The clock at the moment is still running, and the Cadillac is a rather sorry sight in terms of the bodywork, but has stood up very well indeed, the Juncos car. It's been engulfed in tyres as well, so there's a lot of dirt and muck and dirty water, etc. has been sprayed on that car, but it's out. It'll go on the back of the flatbed and come back. The red flag is out, and the clock has been reset to 17 minutes and 13 seconds when the red flag came out. So that's very interesting. It was just under 30 minutes, wasn't it, when we went back to green and this accident happened. So we've already lost well over 10 minutes of the last 30, but we're on red flag with the clock on hold, Jeremy.
Yep. Yeah, you're right. It was about 30 minutes to go when the this caution period began. Because we went green with 35 laps to go. We did just a couple of laps before this accident occurred, and yeah, it's a bit of a sorry state, isn't it? Number 50 car. That's a real shame. It's not. It certainly isn't a high-budget operation there that Ricky Juncos puts together.
So, though, Jeremy, it does. I mean, you're right. Bodywork-wise, it looks horrible, and you know, it's had a big shunt. It's been over. It's been surrounded by tyres, which, as I say, will have been dirty. That, but all the wheels are roughly in the same right place and sort of pointing in the right direction. And all right, there's suspension damage to the left rear and the left front. The cockpit's fine. The doors opening and closing fine. That stood up really well, really well to that very heavy impact on the left-hand side, and it was the left-hand side that went in first. Now, the cars have come into the pits, which is now Parc Fermé. They will not be able to be serviced. And Shea Adam, they haven't gone all the way down the pit lane here.
No, because there's quite a bad slant downward, so all the cars have been stopped on the even part, and the pace car actually has been stopped on the beginning of the slant. So that's really heads up, meaning that they're not going to have to lock the cars in gear, and they're not going to have to leave the cars with brake pressure on because brake discs get melded to the brake pads. That's not a good move. So very, very heads up by race control.
You were talking a moment or two ago to Lawrence Vantour. I take it he was talking about Bill Oberlin in the 96 BMW, who he felt was not helping the cause of the GT Le Mans cars.
Well, that would make sense because Bill Oberlin often forgets what class he's racing in.
I actually said that in commentary. That's true.
I do quite enjoy it when Bill goes and mixes it up. Yeah, that is the only GTD BMW this weekend, though. So, yep, that would make sense.
Thank you, Shea Adam down there. So if you know people, if you're here at the track and you know people who are watching at home, The CNBC broadcast will run until the conclusion of the race, and of course we'll stay on the air till the conclusion of the race as well. It might mean a slightly truncated version of Michelin post-race tech because of some scheduling that some of our staff have to do, i.e. me getting on a plane. But we'll keep you updated with that. The bulk of the recovery vehicles are leaving. We need a tyre wall rebuilding, and then we can go back to the last 17 minutes of racing, Jeremy.
Yeah, and that hearing there from Lawrence Vantor talking about the Porsche being held up by the GTD BMW, there's not that much speed differential, certainly lap time differential between GTD and GTLM. The fastest lap in GTLM race is a high 1 minute 14. For GTD, it's low 17, so a bit over 2 seconds, which is actually a little bit more than was the differential before. The lap records for GTLM was by Patrick Pilar actually 2 years ago, 1 minute 14.7, which has been beaten in this race just. The lap record in GTD was actually by Tristan Vautier, who's driving the number 85 DPI car in this race. It was a 1:16.8, and that was also in 2017.
Tow trucks on contra race to get back to their positions as quickly as possible. The Cadillac, take the picture from the right hand side, it doesn't look too bad. All right, it's a bit of loose bodywork, but no, very good indeed. Lost the rear wing, but that car, again, I'll say this, it stood up very, very well indeed. It looks like Victor lost it on the bump in the middle of turn 2, just over the top of the rise there. There is a little bump there, maybe cold tyres, just temps and pressures not quite up, and got sideways going down the hill. He had the foresight to get on the brake really early, and although it went in driver's side and flipped over, he'd scrubbed off a lot of speed by that time on that new asphalt. In the old days, he'd have been on the grass and picking up speed there. So,
well, yeah, in the old days there wasn't much runoff there at all.
Well, yes, in the very old days, you're right, yeah. There was zero runoff there.
Yeah, it certainly would have scrubbed off a fair bit of speed, but still that went in at a rate of knots. That was a huge accident for
And anytime you go over, it's a nasty thing to happen, even if it's in a road car.
Yeah.
Well, that car is going back to the pit lane, and we have 17 minutes and 13 seconds on the clock. Let's go to Patrick Lindsay, who's down in the pit lane. His 73 car sitting just off the podium at the moment, with Pat Long trying to chase down Townsend Bell, Mario Farnbacher and Bill Oberlin to try and get on the podium.
He just needs one spot, and then he gets some champagne and a trophy. Patrick, how hard is Plongi going to be pushing?
Yeah, just one spot. Then I have to go take a shower after this thing because I'll smell like champagne. No, it would be good for the championship, which is obviously what we're in, but he's got 3 really fast cars ahead of him. It's tough track to pass on, but they're giving us a lot of time. I think my boy will have a shot here, but I've just been really proud of this team. Didn't have the fastest car going into this race, but we are sitting in a really good spot. So hopeful, fingers crossed, we will see how the drama plays out.
It's a weird situation for you. You mentioned championship. You've just won a world championship, and as a result of that, you missed 2 races. So Patrick is effectively going for a solo championship this year. How weird is it to be trying to help him win another championship?
I mean, it was honestly pretty easy. Jump back in the car with Patrick, kind of like riding a bike. He's a great co-driver. He's a good friend. And we're just having a good time, and looking forward to getting him this championship. He's worked hard for it. He is got the bit between the teeth, and he wants it. So it'll be exciting to see what he tries to do.
Let's go see what the Patmobile can do. As you've heard in the background, engines have refired.
Thank you, Shea. Shea Adam down there in the pit lane, and as she rightly said, the engines have refired. They haven't been switched off for too long, so they won't have to go through another warming up process for these highly stressed race engines. The 74 car still has its stop and 10-second hold to do for not coming in after it did the emergency. Cars are rolling on the pit lane, and the time has restarted under the full course yellow. What will, I presume, will come back to green flag as quickly as possible. Jeremy.
Yeah, and Patrick Lindsay there alluding to the WeatherTech GTD Sprint Cup Championship, in which Patrick Long was placed second coming into this weekend in that Park Place Porsche. He drove the first 2 rounds, which were at Daytona and then at Detroit, with 2 different co-drivers. Richard Highstand and Jack Hawksworth in the Lexus had won both of those races. So they came in with a 10-point lead, but that car has had problems in this race and is the only GTD car that is not on the lead lap. So this is a good opportunity for number 73 team to make up quite a lot of points.
Well, great work again by our emergency teams here at CTMP, Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, and of course our IMSA safety team with the Porsche Cayenne AMR safety vehicle. And a good opportunity to remind ourselves how much hard work all the marshals, people on the flag stands, and all of our emergency recovery and track services teams do, not just here but around the world. And thank you to all of you, ladies and gentlemen, who give up your precious time for us to come motor racing. We wish the best to Victor Franzoni. We'll get word from the team when we can, but we'll leave them in peace for the moment. The good news is that he was removed from the car and put into the ambulance for a little checkup at the infield medical centre. Was sitting up and appeared to be talking to his rescuers. Already down under 15 minutes now, and these will be cold tyres.
Yeah, it's a reasonably warm day, so they should be able to get tyres up to temperature fairly quickly, but the safety car already is in. We're going to go green this time.
Yeah, I thought they would, Jeremy.
Yeah.
Time to get going. 14.5 minutes to go. Another good restart by the leading Mazda, which this time, of course, is the 77 car. It's the 55 car that's been leading away for such a long part of the race. Harry Tingle, who's under pressure going through turn 2. They'll need to be a wee bit careful through here. There's that big bump on the inside, which caught out Victor Franzoni. Everybody gets through. Mazda, Acura, Cadillac for your top 6. And they go through within 2 seconds on the restart with now 14 minutes to go. GT Le Mans, Earl Bamber holds on to the lead from John Edwards. Nick Tandy trying to get down the inside and get back up into second place. Porsche, BMW, Ford, Corvette. And in GT Daytona, that old BMW driver, Bill Oberlin, half a second ahead of Mario Farnbacher, then Bell. And it looked as though Colin Brown was trying to make up a position there as well on Philippe Albuquerque and Pipo Derani. Here come the Corvettes, picking their way through traffic. They weren't right on the back of the GT Le Mans field. And there's 2 Porsche BMW battles for first and second, and third and fourth.
And Colin Brown was able to make up a position past number 5.
Great restart from Brown then in the Nissan, very quick in a straight line, that car, and he used that to his advantage. Top 4 from GT Le Mans go through turn 1. Coming down under 13 minutes now after a brief red flag stoppage to rebuild the tyre wall and extricate the young Os Cadillac. Victor Franzoni out of the car. Ollie Jarvis pulled out a second, Jeremy, from his teammate, who's got 3 tenths on Dane Cameron, 77, 55 and 6.
And the number 74 car just served its penalty for the improper service during that caution period. It had to come in for emergency service, which you can only do just 5 seconds of fuel, so it had to come in again. Just done that. Very good restart by Ollie Jarvis there.
Cracking race in GT Le Mans. But Earl Bamber has done it again. He's got his head down, and now Tandy's beginning to drag up to the back of the second place BMW, which he knows fairly intimately, as he's had a bit of wheel banging and bumper banging with that car early on in the race. In fact, just before we had the red flag period. 2 Porsches are right there as well. Richard Westbrook and Dirk Muller, 67 and 66. Any slip up from the leading quartet, and the BMWs will be right there.
Yeah, and the Corvettes there, they were mired back in the GTD pack, so that isn't going to help them at all. They've got a lot of ground to make up to catch the other 6 cars in GTLM. Well, they're not going to be able to do that, I don't think.
Antonio Garcia is all I'm saying. He's awesome at the end of the race. Now they've cleared traffic, they might get a little run.
Bunch of blue sector times here amongst the prototypes, particularly on the straight.
For the Masters in particular, Jeremy, yeah. Ollie Jarvis, Harry Tinknell go through. Well, John Doonham was ecstatic a week ago, and so was all the connections of Mazda. They took their first win. The monkey, well and truly off the back, is what they said.
New fastest lap for our race leader, wow. Oliver Jarvis, 106.093. Once again, the old lap record, 107.2. The outright sports car lap record around here, Marco Werner, a 105.8 10 years ago.
Yeah, I think that's within reach now. I do think that's within reach.
If he wants to push it, it certainly is.
Yeah. And Ollie Jarvis, when he gets focused, we know what he can do. Touted as the next generation for Audi before that programme was brought to a premature end by the VAG group management, and then found himself new opportunities in GT, and now with Mazda, helped along the way by Johnny Moorlam. Ollie repaying all of the faith that's been shown in him. Now 1.1 seconds away from his teammate who's pulled out 3/4 of a second. These are good early laps and have to be for the Mazdas. They're great in clear air, and this is where they need to be. BMW lead in GT Daytona. Bill Oberlin's pulled out 0.6 of a second, and in the context of a tight GTD battle, that's awesome as well. With Mario Farnbacher trying to chase him down. Lexus in 3rd, Porsche in 4th. Acura in 5th again. That's Catherine Legg. So BMW, Acura, Lexus, Porsche are the top 4 different manufacturers. And there are 7 manufacturers in the top 9. Make that 8 manufacturers in the top 10, with McLaren creeping to the top 10. Paul Holton there. Now, and the top 10 all still on the lead lap in GT Daytona. 9 minutes left, just under. Earl Bamber with 0.6 of a second lead in the GT Daytona category. Tony Vielander trying to chase down Jerome Blakemolin as he goes under, or around the diving turn that is turn 2, the WeatherTech 63 Ferrari. Excuse me, that was turn 4. My apologies. Now through turn 5. That'll teach me to look at the timing screen. Your points arising, questions, etc. for Michelin post-race tech, please. Hashtag Michelin PRT to @IMSA Radio. Where's Colin Brown? Ansett 6th position. He's got past Albuquerque and Van der Zande. And that Nissan is on a tear. Went 0.63 last time around, and Pipo Derani's had to do the same time to keep the 2-second gap, make that 0.6 of a second gap across the line. Heck of a battle going on there as Colin Brown fights his way through traffic. And we've got the 2 Acuras just having passed those guys. No, they're sitting right in front of them. That's a full battle. The 2 Acuras side by side. Derani goes for a battle with at the bottom of turn 2. Now through turn 3, they're still side by side. He uses a 33 car as a pick and goes through.
Brilliant.
Brilliant by Derani, up in a 4th position. So from being under pressure by Braun in the number 54 car.
Brown's off the road.
Brown's off the road. He's going to slide up right in front of the Keating car. Blakemolin would have known nothing about that. That was coming into turn 5. Now, has the 54 car got fire? Yes, it has. Don't drive forward, Colin. Don't drive forward. Get reverse. Get reverse. You'll get out of there. Good lads. Good lads. That was a shame. That was a great charge from Colin. Just missed his braking point. Or did he get a little rub? There was all kinds of action going on down there. And now he's dropped out of contention, but what a pass by Durrani on Ricky Taylor. Round the outside at turn 3. Oh, yes, please. Jarvis and Tinknell doing a great job at the head of the field, but everybody else battling for third on down. Oh, I can't see. How close was he even to hitting the Acura?
Where's Albuquerque? Did he come around?
Well, Albuquerque had dropped back just a little bit.
Here he is now, limping.
Oh, there was a touch. There was a touch between the second of the Acuras and Colin Brown.
Yeah.
As Brown went round the outside. And Philip Albuquerque has stopped on the front straight, I think, Shea, has he? He was limping past us.
He's struggling to try and get a gear, John. He was revving the engine, and the car, which, let me run over to the pit wall and just look out. I can't see it anymore, but it was crawling on the front straight.
6 minutes to go. Thank you, Shea. 6 minutes to go. And disaster averted down there at turn 4. Well, Albuquerque's got the car to the exit of turn 1 and to a gap in the fence. If he can get reverse and get that out of the way, I think we can stay green. But where it is now is a very dangerous place indeed. Now, can he get reverse? He's done well to get the car off the track, although why he didn't bring it in the pit lane, I'm not so sure. Now, was he involved? He barely got across the start-finish line, and he was struggling for a gear. Got down into the apex of turn 1, got it going, but clearly thought that he wasn't going anywhere else.
I'm not quite sure why he wouldn't have pulled it across to the right-hand side, rather pull it into the pit lane exit. That's not very smart, to be perfectly honest.
Well,
is he trying to cause another caution so Pipo Derani can have a go in the last lap or so of this race?
He's going to have a go anywhere. He's going to have a go anyways, people. He's not even a second away from a podium spot at the moment, and he's right under the rear wing of Dane Cameron as they're on the back straight now. He's got the draft. I'm not sure the Cadillac is quick enough there, but can he be quick enough through the twisty bits? I think he can. He carries a huge amount of speed through turn 8. Now into 9, into our sight at turn 10. We've got probably 3 laps left, depending on whether the leaders cross the line. The Mazdas have gone, by the way. They've cleared off. There's a second between them, but they are a couple of seconds ahead of this battle.
Well, yeah, because number 6 guy got his mirrors full. He's worried more about not losing a place, isn't he, than gaining one. Correct. At this stage.
Dane Cameron having to go off the track almost there to go around the Ford, as the 2 Mazdas are battling through the GT Le Mans battle and going past Connor De Philippi and Nick Tandy. Richard Westbrook all in there as well. Now, this is going to be interesting at turn 5. Oh, look at this. Harry Tinknell at turn 5 is being held up, so second, third and fourth are together now. Durrani could be second here. And he's got a huge track.
Absolutely on the tail.
Absolutely perfect run out of 5. And you can barely see Durrani's car behind the Acura. The leaders away, gone by over a second now, as they pick their way through this GT Daytona battle, GT Le Mans battle. Durrani just didn't have the top speed to pull out of the draft. Another lap completed, 3 minutes and 10 seconds to go. This is outstanding. Prototypes through the GT traffic. Exactly why we love IMSA, exactly why we love multi-class racing, and exactly why we love proper old school circuits like Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. Mobil 1 SportsCar Grand Prix presented by Acura, coming to a crescendo of excitement and action with a couple of laps to go. Mazda, Ollie Jarvis, number 77. I know Chelsea will be watching and listening back at home. Keep breathing for the time being. Harry Tinknell in second by about a second and a half. He's got a second on the battle for third, fourth and fifth. Acura, Cadillac, Acura. What a drive by Durrani, by the way. What a drive by Durrani.
And as the leaders were coming through there, Bill Oblin's taking a big lead now in GTD. He's got 2.5 seconds or more in hand over the Acura.
Yeah, Townsend Bell, though, is under pressure for the third and final podium position with Pat Long right there. And Nick Tandy is still only a second away from John Edwards to get a Porsche 1-2 here, with the BMWs either side of him. Extraordinary stuff. Extraordinary stuff. Ollie Jarvis, majestic through the traffic. The 77 Mazda with his teammate now not too far behind him. And then that's dragging the Acura, I think, along with him. So they're closing up top three now, under 2 seconds. And for the moment, Durrani's charge has been slightly blunted, and Durrani slow coming onto the back straight. Ricky Taylor's got a run on him. Not quite close enough, I don't think, but now has Durrani done his tyres and put too much energy into them?
It'll be white flag this time.
White flag there, 2.4 miles for Mazda. And back-to-back wins, having not won since 2012 at Road America. Are they going to do 2 in a week? And this will be 5 in a row for Porsche if they can hold on to this. It was the 55 last week, and the 77 crew were quick to say this is a team victory, as with the 55. Everybody's played their part. The spoils being shared this week. Another 1-2 for Mazda as it stands. Ollie Jarvis with about 1.5 miles to go. Tristan Nunez started the race. The Englishman bringing this one home. The headlights are on, full beam. Still a battle going on for fourth. Durrani has been closed in on by Ricky Taylor, but it's going to be RTP 24P 1 and 2 for the second week running. Twice in 7 days, Mazda go to the checkered flag at the top step of the podium. Mazda 1-2 at the Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, Mobil 1 SportsCar Grand Prix, and Porsche 5 consecutive victories for the 911 RSR as Earl Bamber finishes off the race started by Lawrence Vanthoor. And it's going to be Bill Oberlin, the old BMW driver, wily enough to have taken victory for Turner and for BMW in GTD. Let's hear from Tristan Nunez from the winning team.
Tristan Nunez, it has been 2,136 days since you stood on the top step of the podium in IMSA. We thought you were going to get there last weekend and it was second. This time it's your week. How does it feel to be an overall race winner?
Really, there's no words to describe it right now. This team has worked so hard for the past, 7 years. We finally, we put all the pieces together. We had the best crew in the world. These Yost guys are top notch. The Multimatic guys give us support on the engineering. AR engines holds up like nothing anymore. I mean, it's flawless. I mean, flawless performance all around. So happy with the crew, so happy with everyone. I'm just so blessed to be a part of it.
Congratulations, Tristan. And John, twice in a week we get to have the winning conversation. You said it in the press conference after Watkins Glen. These cars like the smooth tracks. We could go on to win all the rest of the races. Well, there's another one down. How does this one feel?
First of all, our prayers for Victor Franzoni. You know, this is a big family at Mazda. I got off the box and went to medical because he's one of our own, just like all these others. So that's number one. I'm going to dedicate this certainly to the Mazda fans, but also to Chabral Pruitt, Marshall's wife. She's fighting it hard, and we don't take challenges lightly at Mazda. We never stop challenging, so we want that for her. But to win one and then to get 2 in a row, I can't believe it, Shay.
Congratulations, John.
Thank you so much.
I think John Duna may have been a whooping and a hollering quite a bit there by the sound of his voice.
But last week, yes.
Yeah, Monkey well and truly off back now. You know, when you've won the first one, it makes it much easier to win the second one. But, I mean, we always say that, Jeremy, but twice in a week. After really not showing the kind of pace in practice and qualifying that they showed, it was utter dominance at Watkins Glen. Not the case here. They've raced their way at the front. When they got to the front, they made the best of their advantage. Yeah,
I mean, that's the dominant car right now. There's no question about it. They didn't show it through practice and qualifying. They did in the race once again. It wasn't quite as far ahead of the rest of the field as they were 1 week ago, but they were still, that was quite clearly the car to have. But Mazda team, hats off to them. They've worked so hard on everything, every aspect of that team. The engine from AER, the chassis from Multimatic. They've worked hard with Michelin to understand the tyres.
Yes.
The team themselves, they brought in new engineers this year. The whole structure is now in place, and everything there is working absolutely as it should do. They're taking full advantage of it, and that's why we're seeing this car winning so dominantly both last week and almost to the same extent this week as well. It's been a really fine performance, and they deserve every bit of this adulation that they're getting, and the congratulations from John Doonan.
Indebted to Greg Atkins, who has just been in to tell us Victor Franzoni awake, alert, being transferred to a local hospital for further evaluation. That's the official word. That's what we've been waiting for. We can all breathe a sigh of relief. Now, we did see the pictures of him sitting up, but until we get the official word, and that's good news. And thanks to the IMSA team for letting us know that, so that we can let you because I know that there's been lots of questions being asked. Wow, twice in a week. Absolutely extraordinary. Acura third again. What a drive at the end by Pipo Tirani as well. Colin Brown played his part. A little bit unlucky there to get tapped off the racetrack by Ricky Taylor, because I think he was on for a really good run, possibly knocking on the door of a podium there.
Very definitely. I mean, the car was super fast, and Colin was driving absolutely superbly well. It was fun to watch. That was a scary ride though, and for Jerome Blekemolen, the number 33 car, he was 7th in GTD. There was a slight gap from 6th to 7th, through which off the grass came number 54 car, completely out of control, and it barely missed Jerome Blekemolen. Very frightening.
Well, Lawrence Vanthoor, not too bad. 5 wins in a row for Porsche. This means Drew and Earl retake the championship lead. Congratulations.
Yeah, perfect. It was honestly up to the race. It was a bit of a difficult weekend for us. We struggled a bit to find our rhythm and get everything sorted, but in the end, in the race, the car was good, and we tried something on strategy, and it worked out perfectly. And all the mega job in the end. Like I said, if there's one guy you want in there, it's him. So it's 3 wins this year, so that's be good.
Yeah, not too bad, especially going into the second half of the season with Lime Rock, Road America, VIR, WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca, Petit Le Mans. You feeling like maybe momentum on your side now?
Yeah, it's going really well. But like you say, it's in this championship, points are so close. You need one bad result and you lose a lot. You just need to be up there the whole time, and but yeah, by winning is the best thing. So let's just hope we can continue like this, and then we'll sort it out.
Hey, congrats! It's a big thing to win at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park.
Thank you.
Shea Adam down in the media scrum. Coming up, we've got Michelin post-race tech. A lot of questions and points arising from that one. Hashtag Michelin PRT. 2 weeks' time, we're at Lime Rock Park. Next weekend, Saturday morning UK time, we're on the Nordschleife for the next round of the VLN. That's over on RS1. What a brilliant race. Shea Adam back down there in that media scrum. That's one that we won't forget in a long time here. We expect good racing, and Canadian Tire Motorsport Park has delivered.
Oh, for sure, and it's delivered for one man in particular, Bill Oberlin, who has just brought the Turner Motorsports BMW into the Victory area. It's a place that he's very familiar with. Been here many times before, has Bill. He knows what's going on. Giving him a second to just pull everything apart. He's trying to get his helmet off. It's been a while since he's come first in a race. 638 days to be exact. It was Petit Le Mans 2017. Bill, you did it. How's it feel to win a Mosport?
It feels really good. I'm so proud of my guys. The Turner guys, they deserved this a long time ago, and I just wasn't, with Robbie, able to bring it to them. Thanks, Will, for letting me be a part of it. Thanks, Lucas, Kevin, all the guys. I'm really happy. And Robbie, my teammate, is amazing. It's so nice to have a guy give it to you in the lead and then have this BMW M6 run like it did today. It was incredible all day.
The magic crystals worked. You better keep them the rest of the season.
Yeah, well, we're going to Lime Rock. I don't know how, it's a big car for Lime Rock, but it's our home track, so we're going to do it there too, and then off to the fast ones. I can't wait. VIR, Elkhart, this car loves speed.
Congratulations, Bill.
Thank you so much.
Bill Oberlin wins again. Bill Power, his win ratio is absolutely extraordinary. Getting on for half of the races that he has started in his career. he has won. Quite extraordinary stuff. Some points to come from Jeremy Shaw, but we'll try and grab another couple of interviews before we hand the PA off to Tony for the formalities. Great win there. Acura second, Lexus third, Porsche fourth. 4 different manufacturers in GTD. Porsche, BMW, Porsche in GT Le Mans. And the Mazdas, of course, first and second. Shea, it looks like a scrum down there by Victory Podium.
It's pretty crazy down here. I'm just going to see if I can dive in with Harry Tinknell, because a week ago it was the opposite result. And well, Jonathan and Harry, it was so close to being a repeat, but hey, turnabout fair play. Last weekend, they were the tail gunner for you. This weekend, you were the tail gunner for them for the 55. You happy with the 1-2?
Yeah, obviously ecstatic for the team. 1-2 is what we come here for, and to get 2 in a row is unbelievable. I think everyone at Mazda Team Yost is on cloud 9, and obviously for Multimatic as well. The cars were built only an hour or so down the road from here, and it's incredible to get 1-2 for Larry Holt, Raj Nair, Stephen Charles, everyone at Multimatic as well. But yeah, 100% Mazda Team Yost day. I think John's giving out the bear hugs again today.
That one was lost in the pit stop. Unfortunately, it looked like a problem with the rear tire change. What was it actually that cost you guys the win?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I just parked it up, and when the ball goes up, it goes. So not 100% sure what's happened, but yeah, obviously at that point we were just controlling the race, and was thinking about another 55 on the top step. But regardless, it's a great result.
Hey, the extra time in the sim this week really paid off. Congratulations for another trophy.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Cheers.
Yeah, Harry Tinknell, I think, just a little bit disappointed there, sounding from the voice. Let's do a quick bit of points before we wrap up our broadcast here on the PA and with the video stream. What do you got, Jeremy?
Well, another podium for Dane Cameron and Juan Pablo Montoya will extend their lead from 1 point to 3 points over Felipe Nasser and Pipo Deranu, who finished right behind them on the road. Those are the top 2 in points. Third will remain Elio Castros and Ricky Taylor, now 9 points off the lead. But now up into 4th position from 7th will be Oliver Jarvis and Tristan Nunez. Wow. They've got 188 points, so they're 19 now behind. Just 1 point behind them in the table is Jonathan Bomarito as a result of Harry Tinknell missing one of the races.
And before the next set of points, he's John Edwards from BMW.
Well, John, you were pushing like crazy at the end of that one. Didn't quite have it for the Porsches, but you get them next week at Lime Rock, right? Your home track?
Yeah. BMW's home track next weekend, but hasn't treated us well in the past. So anyway, it's nice to get on the podium here. It's been a while. Had a couple of hard races, some bad luck, so it was nice to be in the fight. Had a nice battle with the 911 a little bit, but ultimately at the end, when they were flat out, we didn't really have anything for them, so we just kind of hung there. So we gave it everything, but we couldn't come away with the win. So on a day when you can't win, it's good to come home second.
And it's nice, at least on a hot day, to get to drink a little bit of champagne. That's got to perk you guys up and just make you even hungrier for the rest of the season.
Yeah, well, can't drink too much champagne before I fly home, but yeah, it's definitely good to get another podium. We're headed in the right direction. I mean, we obviously started off on the back foot with some mechanical troubles at Daytona, and we're not really in it for the championship, so we're here to win. So we had a few touches with both of the Porsches actually, so it was a hard fight. And we're definitely going for it, but couldn't come away with it today, so we'll have to go back and try to do a little better next time.
Hey, good luck at Lime Rock.
Thanks.
Back to Jeremy with the points.
Yeah, in LMP2, Carl Masson and Cameron Castles came in with a 1 point lead over Matt McMurray. They will leave with a 2 point deficit to Matt McMurray, who will now lead the points in LMP2 for the PR1 Matheson Motorsports team. In GTLM, that win for Lawrence Vantour and Earl Bamber, that will take them from a 1 point deficit to a 4 point lead over their teammates Patrick Pile and Nick Tandy, and everybody else now is well behind. Jan Magnussen and Antonio Garcia will remain third in the points, but with a 7th place finish, they now trail by 11. So that's GT a big turnaround. Daytona. GT Daytona, Mario Farbacher and Trent Hinman, 2nd place today, extend their lead once again over in 2nd place now will be Townsend Bell and Frankie Montecalvo on 132 against the 151 for the leading Acura. In the GTD Sprint Cup WeatherTech Sprint Cup. 89 points now for Richard Hyson and Jack Hawkes, who had a bad day today, but they still lead by just 1 point now, though, over Patrick Long from Park Place Motorsports in the Porsche. 2 points behind him will be Frankie Montecalvo and Townsend Bell. 2 points behind them will be Trent Hinman and Mario Farnbacher. So with 3 races down out of the 7 in the WeatherTech Sprint Cup, that's getting very, very tight in GTD.
Thank you, Jeremy. We'll be doing it all again in 2 weeks' time. From Lime Rock Park, and it's just the GTs, of course. So can Corvette take their 100th win on North American soil? That's where they had their 100th win victory as Corvette Racing. Seems a long time ago now since they were on the top step of the podium. Tune in from Thursday of that race week. All of the details on www.radio-show.co.uk. Next weekend, we're at the Nürburgring. Join us then on RS1. For Shea Adam, for Jeremy Shaw, I'm John Hindle. Thank you very much. What a race that's been. It's Michelin post-race tech next, but only on IMSA Radio, live from Canadian Tire Motorsport Park.